Welcome to Breakfast Central this morning. Thank you for starting with us. You're very welcome to the biggest stories happening around Nigeria, as we'll be here, not just us, but our analysts, as well as you, to dissect these stories and give you the opportunity to share your thoughts when you call in via the phone lines that will be displayed on the TV screen during the newspaper review. You're welcome once again. I'm Olive MOD.
And I'm Benga Bro. Starting your day right with us here on Breakfast Central is what you should do every day of the week. And on weekends, you can also join Breakfast Extra. Like Olive said, we're here to bring you the biggest news, the latest information, and also analysis on the biggest trending topics and news items in the country. I'm Benga Bora. Welcome to the program.
Absolutely, guys. Well, for me, I'm just going to say, don't forget to get your fingers itchy and ensure that you comment, follow, like, share, and just make sure that you follow us closely, especially as we bring the latest stories to you. Well, let's start off first this morning as we say good morning and welcome by actually, first of all, asking the crew and the team here who have been fantastic. And I just want to ask one question. I mean, how's your gym life?
Johansson, let's not embarrass ourselves publicly on the television, because this is the conversation that you and I had before going live on TV, especially because you and I had...
How's your gym life?
The economy is gymming in my pocket.
Okay. I mean, he's gymming with his daughter, his brand new daughter, who he carries all the time. She should realize a few kg, maybe 1 kg. I don't know what to do. Yeah, you're gymming with the kids. But Johansson, may I ask, how is your gym life?
Fantastic.
You know, last time we spoke, Johansson, you had said to me at the start of the year that one of your vision and your goals for 2025 was to be perfecting your skills in the gym. How's that going?
It's going well.
When last did you visit the gym,
It's going well. So I learned a new thing called start wherever you are. So I do it at home. I don't need to go to the gym.
Aerobics. You're not carrying weight.
So, you know, I start with 6,000 steps. You know,
you've done 6,000 steps
every day.
For how long?
From 6,000 steps to 10,000.
How do you count it?
How do I count? I have the wristwatch.
Oh.
Let me see the
today I'm not wearing
Technology.
Today I'm not wearing the wristwatch. I'm wearing a different.
Okay, I like that you've shared with our audience the steps that you're making.
I think I've tried. I've been an advocate of eating healthy and
portion control. You have a lot of grains and legumes.
Eating healthy has cost me a lot.
It's expensive, you know.
It's
vegetables.
When I look at it's a lot.
I can relate. Olive, are you used to eating legumes and vegetables?
I do. As a matter of fact.
What's your favorite legume? Let's go to live.
Olive, pressing your back. I'm giving some.
Okay, no, I don't eat eba. Not because I think eba isn't good. So in a bid to tell myself that I'm eating healthy, like yesterday, I had oatmeal swallow. So instead of using gari or semo, I use oatmeal.
It's a very healthy
alternative. Yeah, I use oatmeal.
Oatmeal swallow.
Yes, it's oatmeal. It's called oat poundo, that's what they call it. Oatmeal swallow and okra soup. And shout out to my mommy for making the best okra soup I've eaten in my life.
Wow.
Oh, my mommy. Okay.
Well, this would pain the producers.
My mommy also makes nice okra soup, by the way.
Yeah, shout out to your mommy. And today, guess who's going to make brand new okra soup for me? My mommy.
Oh, wow.
Seafood, snails and prawns and all. You know what, let's not talk about food.
Anyway, we just decided to start the show on a lighter note to, you know, like they do in the football game or sports.
You loosen up training.
You loosen up before we go into the stories, because the stories we have today will actually get you into the gym.
In fact, exactly why we're asking about your gym life.
Yeah.
Because for you to be able to do what we're talking about in
Mission
this next
Impossible.
Story, you must have.
Thank you. Have you seen Mission Impossible, the final chapter? Well, if you've also seen a movie called Mission Impossible starring Tom Cruise and the many cast, there's also another movie called Blue Streak by Martin Lawrence, released in 1991. I love that movie so much.
Also,
I will watch it over
there's
and over
another
again.
series that this story can apply to because of the strategy employed. And that series is called Money Heist.
Money Heist.
Yes.
Money Heist.
So if you've seen Money Heist and you've seen any of the stories, then in those stories, you were rooting for the criminal. It's amazing how literature and fiction and media film ensures that you start to root for the thief. You would think you're a person that has integrity until you watch some of these films and you're like, oh, you're hoping the police did not catch them and you're wondering,
when did I start? When did I become
this person? Anyway, we hope that you don't feel this way as we share with you this video of a suspected bank robber who was nabbed in the ceiling. Don't take our word for it. Take a look at this video.
Wait, first of all. No. I beg. It's okay. Ask him, are there two? Wait, so, is he alone? Okay, how many of you there? Okay, thank you very
We should have given
warning.
Yeah, I mean, we apologize for that. A lot of violence and ongoing altercation that you'd see in that video, but this time between the supposed thief. Now, let's give you the story. The young man you see there decided to walk into the bank and he decided to use the restroom. But from the restroom, he was able to find his way up into the roof. And as he got into the roof, he spent a night there, like a hotel room. He slept there, stayed there in the ceiling until everyone left, he went home. And then he came down, possibly in the wee hours of the night, locked the door from inside, and then started trying to crack into the computer systems, trying to crack into the bank systems and so on. So when the staff came in, they couldn't open the door from outside. They were wondering, how is this possible? They decided to break in, get into the office, and some of the staff immediately decided to get to work. Upon putting on the system was telling them to click accept as soon as they powered on. And they've never seen such. So what we just saw there was a young man who, after watching all these movies, maybe in quotes, thought that he could go into the bank and hack their systems live, possibly ensuring that as soon as they click accept, there'll be a malware that would be in the system installed, and then they can see all the money, and then possibly from remote areas wipe out what would be a complete disaster in the history of Nigerian banking system.
Okay.
One man.
You've set the background for what has happened. First of all, we must say that what he did was terrible. We do not in any way support theft, be it physical, digital, or whatsoever, and that should be incredibly punished. However, the actions of the Nigerian police is very, very embarrassing. The people who are supposed to uphold the law, that understand that there is a way to administer justice. When they're talking about when you're talking about end police brutality, this amounts to police brutality as well, because there's a way in which this should be handled. Did you see that man hitting him with the gun? Yeah. They hit him with a bucket. They hit him with all kinds of things.
Almost stomped him.
How do you, in these movies that you watch, you see that when they catch these criminals, you are keeping them because you know that they will lead you to the other people. You can't be the only person working.
Thank you.
So if you now kill him, how do you get to the other people involved? Right? So even if there were no other persons involved, how that manner was handled is very unprofessional, very unbecoming of people who would refer to as our security and our law enforcement agents should not be applied. Others should not be encouraged.
And that was happening in the full glare of the camera. Imagine what happens
when the camera is there.
But kudos to the Nigerian police. The force public relations officer, Maina, released a statement this morning condemning the actions of his officers and men in apprehending that man. It wasn't a flight risk. There was no way even Usain Bolt's can't escape that.
Yes, without
How?
You've already captured him.
Yeah.
I mean, just leading to the police station,
Simple.
doing your
Is it that you don't
interrogation and your
trust
due
that you
diligence.
people can do a thorough
Maybe
investigation?
they are doing that to show that they are working, and it's very primitive.
No.
In Norway, in 2011, the island of Utoya, there's a gentleman called Anders Breivik. He killed 77 people in cold-blooded murder. And when they apprehended him, not a single scratch on his body. That shows a level of civilization. We need to follow the law.
Right.
I think you just used the right word,
Yes.
civilization. But if you watch that video, this is what you might want to put together. The Nigerian police need a complete redemption from the old mentality of doing things. The mindset we have is once we catch a thief,
False.
Beat am,
It's mob mentality.
show up, and everybody comes and donates their own
share of
of anger. Okay, and then they
It's
move.
mob.
Just so we know.
And so that's what I'm going to. It now leads to what? Mob
Jungle justice.
where everybody just comes together, decides, and that's what we saw. Now, ordinarily, Nigerians, if you're watching this morning, you will think he deserves it. It's the right thing to do. But let's tell you why it is the wrong thing to do. Oliver has highlighted, Minga has highlighted. One of the things I also want to highlight here is that if, peradventure, while beating him, he has internal bleeding and then he dies, how will you track the people that work with him? Because this guy, coming up in the ceiling, staying there, he must have been communicating with his team members outside of that bank.
There's
Telling
even a
them,
bigger picture.
I've installed this, I've done this, where do you go to? Okay, put it on this system, we can see this system. Once they come in, they will restart. So keep him. And secondly, do not release this video. They should have told everybody, don't put this video out.
Yes, because they
No
saw the people
video.
that were recording.
Let's finish with cutting.
Investigation.
Exactly. Now, people who work with him, once they see this video or they hear us talking about
be
it,
on the run.
I'm sure somebody's going somewhere, maybe Cotonou, Benin, just to escape. Because he knows that, like they say in the Nigerian
these
parliament,
days.
he don't cast.
Everybody
So
is happy to be a citizen journalist. Nami first post.
The bigger picture in what you just described of if peradventure they mistakenly kill him, maybe they hit him and it leads to internal bleeding and he dies. I remember we talked about something called eggshell skull principle that says you take your victim as you see him. In that case, the police will be charged for manslaughter because they killed him. Yes, they were not maybe setting out to kill him, but they killed him. In fact, you might even push it higher beyond manslaughter because you check the level of force that was applied. Usually, in cases where force is approved, is where you can prove that there was an attack, there was an impending threat, and then the weight of the force you've applied will be measured if it is measured to the force that was expected. And if you can't find that there was a measure, then you run foul of the law. So, in any way, it's a terrible video. We do not condemn the stealing. We do not condemn the man who's working with whatever syndicate or working alone to hack the bank systems. But we also terribly condemn that because when that video is put out, as we are having campaigns against jungle justice, remember the Alu4, you hear of innocent people who are killed because all you need to do is just shout, ole, 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 everybody will gather the person that tires.
That's it.
If our government agencies should do better at doing that, then it's really, really terrible. But let's again applaud the first PRO for seeing what is wrong and calling it what it is. He says, on professional conduct, too bad, many indecent acts were spotted in the video. We will look into it holistically. Thanks. I'm hoping that the holistical looking into will involve these men also being invited, scrutinized, interrogated. They also have committed assault. You cannot. There's a way in which arrests are being carried out. You cannot arrest someone like
an accidental discharge when it was hitting
with a gun.
With the
Thank you.
Again, what this shows us is that a number of these policemen don't even understand the procedure for arrest.
They don't.
A number of them need, when we talk about reworking of the Nigerian police force.
A complete standard operational procedure.
A complete overhaul. I will say this. When I was in law school, what they taught us as how arrest should be enforced is not what I've come out to see. They'll say to you then that before a policeman arrests you, you should search him. Before you should search him to be sure that there's nothing on him. Then they will search you back. You know, the way the textbook mode of harassment, of carrying out arrest, is very simple. In real life, I realize that is a far cry from what the law has prescribed.
And you can't compare that to what you see in the international climb abroad. You see them, they follow the law.
Well,
I'll give you an
to be
example.
fair, they don't always follow too.
We agree.
Sometimes.
Not,
I mean, that's
not
why
all
we're having
time.
the...
So what we're saying is, it's not always perfect, but it should be near perfect.
But there's a process.
Yes, it should be near perfect, not always perfect. If you're going to rate it, you say between 1 to 10. In other countries, you say you give it a 6, 7 of compliance with the law. But here it's quite different. Two weeks ago, I was going home. I was going home 2 weeks ago, and then just driving past the normal road I use to go home, all of a sudden there was a checkpoint. And then it seemed like, the police were focused on a certain type of cars, which they always do, the tinted cars. By the way, they've moved to tinted permit. I hope, I don't know if we informed our viewers. But while I was, since my car is not tinted, I was moving, and this police guy just held his gun at me.
No.
And held it like this in point blank, and I'm like, and I stopped. I'm like, what is this?
That's not professional.
What if you pull the trigger?
Why should you even go?
Why should you do that? Am I a criminal?
I experienced this as well on Freedom Way. And I asked the man, why are you pointing this at me? Do you want to kill me? He said, and the previous person before you that I tried to stop, he ran away. So I said, so you're running away. He's pointing the gun at my face.
Anyway,
they really need to work on the men of the Nigerian police.
They really have to.
And they need to change their name from Nigerian police force to Nigerian police services. And they need to change their uniform to pink short knicker.
Pink short knicker, right?
And pink top. They will be humble.
I don't know about that. But this is just before we move, just a quick reminder to every young man out there. You don't have to push it in order to get what you know you wouldn't get in 10 years.
Exactly.
Because you are putting so much, the young guys are putting so much pressure on themselves. You want to look fly like Benga, you want to look good like Olive, or you want your girlfriend.
They don't know where we started from.
You don't care how long they've been working, what's going on. And it's not a must that you have to be on social media to flaunt, oh, I just bought a brand new house. Check me out. I'm sorry, Olive, not respect to you, but those poses that the ladies go ahead to do behind them and then they stand like this. You know, I'm just trying to be
It's part of the pressure.
It's part of the pressure. Because the lady will tell them that I need to do this. You know that pose.
Pressure
so that they can.
No, that one's not joined. Let's not fight this morning.
Okay, but please,
as part of the pressure.
How the pressure of how a woman affects the young man?
Please, to the young guys watching this show,
stay in school.
Take life easy. Relax. The economy is bad.
Say no to crime.
But just don't do. I pity that young guy. He's gone.
Yeah.
He's really gone, whether he likes it or not.
At least minimum of 10 plates of rice and beans. Minimum. For him, 10 years.
10
years is even too small. My only worry is if you do, like I said, came out too early, they should have told everybody, let's confiscate all phones, keep them, delete the videos, keep the real ones until you catch the syndicates.
That's okay.
Play out.
Right thinking people.
Anyway, we hope that they keep catching as many of them who are involved in crime, especially those who think that fraud is the way out. The rest of us that are suffering to get what we don't have to wait. All of us, we understand that it's harder for some people. We understand that some people have it harder than the average, and we hope that you find some sort of solace and you're able to break even soon, but stealing is not the way, please. Let's move away from this story to talk about another story that Joe has first-hand experience.
Yes, I did.
I
had first-hand experience. So one of my networks, mobile networks, the SIM card is damaged. So I decided to go to the telco operator, this particular care service center, to ensure I could get a new SIM. And I was told that, oh, NIN is down. And I said, why is the NIN down? They said, oh, it's been down for a while. And I said, I recall that last week I was somewhere again to try and do the same thing when I had the chance, but I couldn't, so I had less time, 30 minutes. I quickly just got into the service center and said, oh, it's down, and I left. And yesterday, that's a complete, about a week. And I'm like, why is it down? They said, oh, there's issue, they're trying to upgrade and so on and so on. There's a maintenance circular that's gone round from NIMC.
Yeah, but the downtime is too long.
I did not get any maintenance message.
And there you have it. That's it on the screen. Dear customers, please be informed that the NIMC Contact Center will undergo scheduled maintenance from July 1st to July 2nd, 2025. This may cause temporary disruptions to our contact center services. This planned maintenance is part of our strategic initiative to enhance service delivery and improve customer experience. And then they say they apologize for the inconvenience that this may cause, and so on and so forth. But then again, while they are stating that there's issue with either call center or maintenance and so on, bottom line, I just want to say that it shouldn't affect movements, things that need to be done. And then it calls again the question to how many times will Nigerians have to undergo a period where there's inconvenience, there's downtime, and then everybody should just live with it?
Yes, can it be done in a faster time to minimize disruptions to people's lives and businesses? That's another issue. But they feel, they can take 24 hours, 48 hours of disruption, so yeah.
Okay, so just to also mention that, that maintenance, the report we have is that the maintenance is for the call center and not for, what's happening on the website. But there's an information.
Yeah, but what happens at the call center affects
They're moving to their platform was migrating to there was a platform migration ordered by the National Identity Management Commission. And that a number of these telecoms subscribe. Of course, a number of people across the country can't have access to things like SIM swap, certain services such as replacement, new activations, and this was because of the technical disruption, and that all of this was happening because there was a platform migration that was happening. Then Alton, we've had representatives of Alton on the show. They disclosed in a statement on Tuesday that the disruption affects all mobile network operators in the country and is a direct result of a mandated transition to a new identity verification platform by NIMC. So there's a new one. And again, it raises the question of our data collation and how smooth, seamless, every day we're hearing of, you need to do this registration.
And safe also.
Exactly. The accessibility to our information. I'm sure that, there was a time, I don't know if it's this year or last year, where their website was hacked and information was leaked. How safe is our information? This one, they are migrating to a new platform. This migration, will it guarantee the safety of our data? Will it guarantee seamless access to all services by telecom providers? Alton has said that the migration is intended to improve the security and efficiency of national identity verification, but it has introduced unexpected technical challenges. Of course, there have been reactions to this. Let's take a few of these tweets online. Our first tweet this morning from Queen IJ. She says, the current Director General and Chief Executive Officer of NIMC, Engineer Bisoye Kuka-Odusote, has failed. How could she be happy sitting down and seeing people suffer because the self-service modification they paid for kept saying error? What's the IT department doing? Is it that she isn't seeing the crowd in NIMC offices and the frustration on people's faces? NIN is part of our identity, and if you don't have it, you are not a Nigerian. The next tweet from Folake says, irrelevant information. Your services have been nothing short of pathetic. Since my complaint in May, I have not been able to modify my son's NIN, despite reaching out to the email sent to me. Seriously, you should get an award for one of the most incompetent companies in Nigeria. And
well, let's see another one from Fabian Obeta Ugu. He says your verification service has been down since Thursday last week. You're just giving us notice about maintenance now. While I did this contract, I think I was a victim when I went there last week and I was told, sorry, it's down. A sensitive body like yours shouldn't be this inactive, dormant, and useless in the country. You people just do your things as if you don't send anybody. And I agree. No prompt response to people's issues. In fact, none of your doings has a proper, I need to stress some words, arrangement. You need to have a rethink. And then another one, a final one says, Tinubu needs to sack the Director General of NIMC. He or she is incompetent in sabotaging. In fact, he or she should be jailed for mishandling citizens' data. I think we're just going to stop.
So these are some of the responses to that initial to the announcement. I'm on their Twitter now. I'm still looking at it. And there are many people who are saying that it's been down for weeks.
I told you,
that it's not just a one-off 1st to 2nd July.
I said I was there last week. In short, let me even tell you there's a challenge with even accessing your NIN at some point. I'm happy someone also highlighted, I said since May, okay? We're in July. So it didn't just start today. There are people who have been having issues with their NIN, even though they've been verified and they go back and forth. They keep telling them, oh, you need to re-register and so on. Somebody tried to register their son. Now, the reaction to this is that it has a ripple effect. Take, for instance, those who need to renew their passports, those who need to travel out within that space of May and now.
An inconvenience.
You've just given them a complete inconvenience, and you want them to actually come out of it. I like one of the statements there. Don't get me wrong, Nigeria. We're just highlighting the pain because I feel that a body like NIMC should have been able to plan ahead, integrate, and also tell Nigerians about the strategy and what you plan to do.
So that's another thing that people are complaining about.
Timelines. You could see a tweet there highlighted that, you know, NIMC only came out with this notice after the process, after the disruption has started. Maybe as a reaction to what people are saying.
Which is kind of the way that
Nigerians are. There that highlighted a culture of impunity, a culture of anyhowness. And it's not just government agencies, it's not just NIMC. In private businesses, we see this to internet service providers. You complain about a certain issue, they just keep going round the corner. They don't. They don't even care if it hurts their business reputation or pockets, because Nigerians will always go back. So it's about time we declare a state of emergency in terms of service delivery. And if you notice, there's a culture. If you let's talk about hospitality. It's your industry. If you go to certain restaurants that are the management is of a particular, let's say, Lebanese or Middle East.
Yes.
Service, even service delivery from the Nigerians, you will know these people are properly trained. The way they address you, the way they talk to you, the way they attend to you.
If you complain, they take your complaint seriously. Yes. Sometimes if it's so bad, they tell you, don't worry.
Yeah,
don't
or
worry,
they replace your order.
A completely
different meal. That's how it should be for every sector in Nigeria. We need to train people to that optimum level, and it's so sad that a government agency.
I don't even want to mention what I was told.
That is very important.
When I went to replace the SIM.
What did they say?
The customer care in front. I said, so how long am I going to wait? And I'm tired. I'm sure I'll be missing calls from this number. Sorry, sir, just manage. You know, there's nothing we can do.
You catch up more.
She was watching a movie, and I looked at her. I want to start putting that through based on trainings and everything. That listen, I'm a customer. You attend to me. You don't do that.
Yes.
I just say, you know what? I just picked up. I just walked.
There are too many things that are wrong with this story. I was looking through the thread of the tweets. We highlighted some, but there are more others. The complaints that Nigerians are having, NIMC, is one, your communication style is poor. They're complaining that you're reporting after the fact, not before, which is what Benga had said earlier. Two, even when you're seeing the displeasure that they are sharing, a number of them have been talking about, tweeting about the inconveniences they've experienced, but not getting any response to that. That is another of the complaints. Three, they're complaining about the fact that this has disrupted their lives. There are people who, you know, have to travel. I have a friend, for example, who came to Nigeria just because she needed to renew her passport. Imagine that she was caught in this web. A number of them have limited time. They have to make a trip. You know that the NIN is very, very important. It's important for the renewal of your passport, important for your bank account. I mean, there's so many things that the NIN is very important for. And there's a spiral, and I even hear that for NYSC that it's very important. So there's a number of things. There's a spiral effect. It happens here, and you know it's not sorted here, and several other areas are being affected. So it's important that NIMC comes out with clear, first of all, apology to Nigerians to say we're sorry, you know, we failed you in the service delivery. This is what, because you're saying that you're doing migration from first and second. Their complaints have been that it's been for weeks. You talked about your experience. I'm talking as maybe like 2 years ago, and I don't know if it's the same thing, trying to get my niece's NIN, to change a mistake in her NIN. It took us weeks, and we needed this NIN to be able to process her passports, because I had taken the both of them to go renew their passports, just to get the NIN, because a name, I think her date of birth, there was a mistake. To change that was a problem.
Sorry to butt in. At some point, I had to wear my investigative journalism hat and start asking some members and some staff questions who work in connivance with the NI, and you know they also work with a partnership with banks. And I said, is it a deliberate attempt
to make life hard
to make mistakes on people's names and
so that you can pay extra?
Come back and pay because before I submitted, I was told, please look through carefully. God knows. I did exactly. I even used my pen and paper. I was going. I said, okay, I'm good to go. Submitted, and then you came back and said, oh,
there was a mistake.
Yes, your date of birth. I'm like, no.
How can I know my date of birth?
And I saw a lot of everybody, date of birth, date of birth, date of birth. I'm like, something is, and then you were told to pay extra money.
It's really, really unfair. But the government has envisaged this sort of things to happen, and every responsible government.
And must you pay?
Protects its citizens. That's why the Nigerian government has created the Federal Consumer FCPC Protection Agency. FCCPC. The mandate says we protect and promote the interest and welfare of consumers by providing them with a wide variety of quality products of competitive prices and ensuring the adoption of measures to guarantee that goods and services are safe for intended normal, safe use. So this is a government agency responsible for, complaints like this. But are they going to check NIMSI? How proactive are they in providing services to Nigeria? The Nigerians have complained about a certain airline that is notorious for cancelling flights, delaying flights at the shortest notice. What punitive measures, what has the FCCPC done about it? There is a federal allocation to them every year. Nigerians pay taxes so that they can offer a service, and they're not.
I missed the time when...
do we just complain and say, it's the Nigerian way and move on with our
You've
lives?
forgotten when the former minister of Communications, Issa Pantami, came out and made a statement that everybody should rush and go and get their name. If not, your lines will be blocked. Do you know how many people had accidents on the road? And then, guess what? He made that statement just in the wake of Nigerians coming out from the COVID-19 pandemic. So people were wondering, what is really going on? We're trying to isolate ourselves from, and then people were, see the way people were choking, with nose masks, people were falling, noise. And then he came back and said, okay, we're sorry, we're going to extend the time again. Then later we heard, okay, the exercise has been paused. Goodness gracious.
And that's it stems from our culture. I think we carry our cultural attitudes into how we lead in MDAs, in governmental institutions, and even in businesses, where it is that you feel like once you are the person in position of authority, you can't be questioned. Your word is law. You say it, and that is what it is, right? You can't call out an older person.
With the Naira coloring issue. Old people, pensioners were queuing in front of banks. People lost millions, billions. I know a farmer that lost a lot because of that cashless policy, just because of politics. And then we are concurrently using
one of the countries in the world that uses two denominations at the same time, both old and new.
And the problem is that we never learn, because that wasn't the first time that had happened. It had happened in the 1980s, I think 1984 or so, I'm not sure. But it had happened in the 1980s, and when this whole changing of the Naira, the currency happened in the 1980s, it caused extreme hardship. And I remember that we talked about this on the show. I asked the guest, I said, have we learned our mistakes? What are we doing differently? Are we sure? Because when it happened in the 1980s, there were people sleeping outside banks because they were trying to access money. Till today, we're still suffering the after effect of that policy. Because still now it's hard for you to go to certain banks and say you want to withdraw 100,000 Naira.
Anyway, that was then former President Muhammadu Buhari's regime. And
well, it's not then, because it has spiraled over into this one.
We saw a repetition as well. Anyway. But then again, we want to thank you so much. Do well to share your experience with the NIN, and also not forgetting any other story that we've brought to you. But let's quickly land with our final story on Wake Up, because we need to move. Our guest we hear is around. The last story has got to do with the controversy that's trailing the electoral reforms ahead of by-elections. There's a lot of conversation around electoral reforms. One of it, which we also saw in the papers, was that the president does not have the right. They should find a way to ensure that they take away the power of the president appointing the INEC chairman. Yes. That's a good conversation as well that we'll look at. And then don't forget, too, there's the coalition story, too.
Absolutely.
They now have a chairman. of the coalition.
Oh, chairman of coalition.
Yes.
Coalition.
They're finally making progress.
Progress. But we'll wait and see. Anyway, let's bring to you what we'll be talking about today here on Breakfast Central and our top stories this morning on a Wednesday on News Central. Today on Breakfast Central, controversy trails electoral reforms. A very interesting story to look into, and I'm sure you would love it. Negotiations gear up for local government LGA elections. Let's put it that way, very simple. And then we move on. We do have guests who will be joining us. Senate on NLRC varsity, talking about the university bill, Senate on that. And then insecurity in River State. We're going to use protest alleged killings by suspected headers in the state. And we'll bring to you the newspaper front pages. Do us a favor, stay with us. We have more coming your way in a moment.
By-elections approaching in several states and major anticipation of 2027 election erupts, pressure mounts on the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, from experts and notable bodies. Chairman of the House of Representatives Committee on Foreign Affairs, Wale Oke, has asked INEC to address the confusion that voters always confront while casting their votes owing to overcrowding of ballot papers. Calls are also mounting to stop the president from appointing the chairman, commissioners and other presiding officers to the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC. This took center stage in Abuja on Monday as the Nigeria Civil Society Situation Room issued its comprehensive credibility threshold for Nigeria's 2027 general elections.
Meanwhile, experts are still calling INEC out on its electoral reforms, stating that it implemented flawed electoral reforms as called for immediate electronic upload of results and the adoption of single-day elections nationwide. Now, the by-elections scheduled in key constituencies like Plateau North, Ebonyi South, and Akure North and South, the stakes are very high. Well, joining us to discuss this concerns and its impact on Nigeria's electoral process is the former chairman of the Inter-Party Advisory Council, IPAC, High Chief Peter Mayor. Thank you so much, Mr. Peter, for being here. Let's look at this very closely. These calls have come not just today, but it's been for a very long time where they've talked about reforms, not just from INEC, but of course the processes of every single election. Can you share with us, one, we think these reforms would actually come through and would actually work, especially for the benefit of the electorate?
For me, for someone who has sat with the commission, the National Electoral Commission, and its committees, to work and look at how to make sure that our election truly represents the true wishes of our people. I can tell you that we have really improved in our electoral processes. But whatever INEC is doing is to try to cause confusion and set us back, like 10 years backward, because our electoral process started improving when the technology was introduced into it by 2015 by Goodluck Jonathan. What we are looking at is Section 65. If you look at Section 65, it's not something that INEC even should be the promoter of such agenda, because what should be more of interest to us is that we should not have more post-election litigations. We should be able to have our elections, conducted and then let the vote count and let the vote represent those who voted, the numbers who voted and the interest, what they voted for. So if INEC is getting ready to say, he wants to be able to have a review of an election 7 days after it has been conducted. He showed the flawed process in our electoral system is a draconian law that should not be allowed, because giving INEC quasi semi-judicial power to review an election after it has been conducted is taking away the authority of the electorate to determine their own future. So, and that will not be good to take such election to the national headquarters of INEC, where the determination will be made by very few people. So it is key that INEC concentrate more, removing that provision, and concentrate more on saying that our elections truly start at the polling, vote are counted at the polling unit, cast at the polling unit, and the results are announced at the polling, and that is the end of it. Because every other thing you are doing is just a showman. Because going to coalition center, these are all the center for rigging and manipulation that has been created in our electoral system. For us to have, we have a dual coalition system, we have a dual accreditation system, which is very beautiful. What we should have now is to have election count. The vote should count. Those who vote, one vote should be one vote. You know, there should not be extra backhand by the returning officer to do such. And any attempt, what INEC should concentrate also is that when a returning officer manipulates the electoral process, that process should be criminalized so that returning officer will serve jail term. And that is the Justice Way Electoral Report Panel. And also concentrate in the fact that we must remove the appointing authority from the president, who is also a participant. A referee cannot be a referee in a match he's going to play in, because he's appointing everybody, appointing the resident electoral commissioner, appointing national electoral commissioner, and then appointing the chairman of the commission. So we must also remove that from there, because there are several reports over the years. Justice Lemu electoral violence report in 2011, Justice Way's electoral report 2008, Justice Senator Onamani report in 2015. So these are a lot of reports that have, actually told the line that it should be. So Section 65 is an aberration to what an electoral process should be like. It should not. It's the risk of all the flawed definitions of our elections. And then you want to be able to have election that the cost of election should be reduced. If you want to reduce the cost of election, it's a simple thing. You conduct all your election in one day. And if you conduct the election, it will stop voter apathy, it will stop voter fatigue, and it will reduce the cost, the billions on billions that Nigerians are investing in just conducting the election in 2 days. So, and for you to do that, it's not a difficult thing. They have to look at the section 132 subsection 2, section 178 subsection 2, section 64 subsection 1, and section 105 subsection 1. If you combine this, if you review these combined sections of the Constitution, you will find out that we can be able to conduct our election in one day, and it will increase voter participation, because voter turnout in the second leg of the election, where you have the state and governorship election, are usually very low. Why? Because the outcome of the presidential election is already known, so there's no momentum. People don't get interested. People are already, disinterested in the process of going to conduct vote 2 weeks after. You can imagine, you already know the result of the presidential election, the National Assembly election, then 2 weeks after you prepare to go and vote. People will be discouraged, people will be disillusioned by the outcome. So if we have all our elections in one day, which is just 5 positions, it's not, we have 3 in one day, we have 2 in another day, which is not good for the voter or the electorate, as we call it. So it is necessary that I look at all these issues, come together, streamline it, and I should be courageous to know that even Justice Lemu electoral report, I said that INEC is overburdened. If INEC is overburdened, INEC should be should be onboarding in a way that it was created into different parastatus.
All right.
And that is a report everywhere you go in the world. Even Sierra here, they have.
Yeah, I want to interrupt, because honestly, in your response, there's several areas that you've talked about. You've talked about the Section 65 of the Electoral Act. You've spoken about the cost of running elections. You've talked about taking away the power to appoint INEC officials from the president. But I just want to, for the benefit of our viewers, read Section 65 of the Act. It empowers INEC to, within 7 days, review election results where the returning officer had made an illegal return under duress. The section provides that 1, the decision of the returning officer shall be final on any question arising from or relating to A, unmarked ballot paper, B, rejected ballot paper, and C, declaration of scores of candidates and the return of a candidate, provided that the Commission shall have the power within 7 days to review the declaration and return where the Commission determines that the said declaration and return was not made voluntarily or was made contrary to the provisions of the law, regulations, guidelines, and manual for the election. And I want to quickly read subsection 2, which says a decision of the returning officer under subsection 1 may be reviewed by an election tribunal or court of competent jurisdiction in an election petition proceedings under this act. Now, your response to this, you've talked about how this is an intentional way to manipulate justice. I mean, not the exact words you said, but I believe that that's the underlying message you're trying to pass across. And you're saying that our focus should be instead to ensure that results are uploaded in real time. What would you say are some of the hiccups that have ensured that we do not have the results uploaded in real time? And what structures do we need to put in place to achieve this?
Apart from the third hand of those in INEC who manipulate the system, I think because the previous directors, which I know, we always tell you privately that we have one of the best technology that can, aid us to, successfully upload this document, the PDF, which is called from ECA to the INEC portal. We have this document, but this glitch happened, and Nigerians not be the National Assembly not taking this job seriously, could not call for an oversight function so that Nigerians can properly investigate an independent body set up to investigate what the glitch was. Because if you don't diagnose the situation properly, those who were responsible for the one that happened in 2023 will still be attempting to do further damage. So what the INEC should do, what we should do now is to make it mandatory that from ECA at the polling unit, because naturally, if you look at what happened in Ghana, the vice president, I was in a conference where the vice president who contested against the incumbent president today said that before the end of the election, his party was already aware of the coalition because the forms of the polling unit that was uploaded. So Nigerians will be abreast with what is going on. Party agents and party control centers will also be abreast with what is going on. Transparency is the key to efficiency, is the key for things to be done right. If there's no transparency, if there's no accountability, and if there's no integrity in the process, then we will also have problems. Because there's no law. We can't be making buffer laws. There's a tribunal that's supposed to adjudicate on this issue. There's also INEC that will also give itself a semi-judicial quasi-power authority that will also look at it and then review. So these are unnecessary. What we need, INEC knows we need, every Nigerian knows we need, is about to count at that particular polling unit. We don't even need coalition centers. To be sincerely, coalition center we will need maybe will be a centralized point, maybe at the state. But this world, local government and state coalition center are manipulation grounds for turning election result. So what INEC should do, and every interested Nigerian should continue to pressure INEC to do, is to remove Section 65. What they should concentrate on is to concentrate on the laws that empowers INEC that authorize INEC to upload that from ECA, because there's from ECA, there's from ECA-B, which is one that will fill all the other results, to upload it at the polling unit to IRF. I was in Ogoni during the last election. The INEC officials were struggling. They refused because they had an arrangement. So this thing happens. So if you can upload results in over 176,000 polling units to IRF data in a PDF format, we will be secure. Our election will truly be up to standard, and it will defend the vote of the people. Because if you look at the investigative report by BBC in Rivers State, by Premium Times, they have not been able to change the result from IRF today because it has become public data. It will damage the reputation of the organization if they attempt to remove those results that are still on IRF as regards the electoral outcome in Rivers State. Even despite all the report, they can't remove it. So it is a short banker approach to stopping the manipulation in our system, the rigging. But if you follow this flawed process, it will lead to authorizing very few people who are not even trained in legal profession, who might have been appointed by political affiliation or interest in party in our politics. Because today we have people, sincerely, who are not are non-partisan, as it was established in the Constitution as a criteria to appoint INEC officials. So we must put our eyes on the ball. Election actually occurs at the polling unit. We have what we call dual accreditation process, where you have to use the manual and the electronic to thumbprint and then look at the register to see if your name appears. That is the accreditation, which is dual. And then you have a voting process, which also represent that or give you that opportunity. to put in your ballot, and then it is uploaded. That's manual,
Okay.
the double accreditation and double collation process. So they will collect the result manually and then also collect the result electronically. So we should also make that law strong to make sure that electronic part, uploading result, become a criminal offense, so that those who will do this will know that they will face the wrath of the law. But we must also strengthen it to give parties stronger participation, to be able to see that these results are uploaded at the polling unit, because we cannot have a credible society, we can't have development if people only can waggle their way into power by manipulating electoral results.
Now, Chief, looking at the fact that we have by-elections in different parts of the country coming soon, are there any low-hanging fruits? What can be done by INEC in the immediate to remedy some of the problems that you've highlighted in the course of our discussion? Or is it too late? Are we going into the next cycle of elections with the baggage that they have behind from the last elections?
Yeah, there will be some baggage, and because this will be rushed election within they were given within 1 month, these elections will be conducted and everything will be over. But so INEC will need to be able to train some of his ad hoc staff and train them in a way, and they also have to look at the situation of what is happening today. The RAPTEX, and all the other ad hoc staff they do. Most times, these forms are given to politicians with resources who are contesting to fill and put those they want to. These are verifiable claims. So at the end of the day, this also undermines the integrity of the electoral process. And I must be able to have develop an in-house model that will probably look at the credentials, the character of those who represent them as ad hoc staff at the coalition level, so that it won't be a trade by barter arrangement. You give me money, I try to look for vote for you where there is no vote. So these are problems that we have. But by and large, I have said from 2003, where I've been part of the process, like I've been National Secretary of IPAC, National Chairman of IPAC 4 times. So I've been part of the discussion to deepen an electoral system for a very long time. And I see that by 2003, our elections have continued to improve from 2015. But the issue is that there's this gap is created. As long as that gap in the polling unit exists, that we have to depend on the World Collation Center, where you start to see figures being changed. From the back door, where you see security officials will stop other parties from getting inside before it happens in Edo. Even the former governor have to try to go, and that was when you find out all the manipulation was going on. Then you have a court process that are also, every time you make a new law, they will create another loophole. So we need to end our elections at the polling unit, as every other country. Most smaller countries and countries that are now bigger than us in Africa are doing. So our election must end at the voting polling unit. Elections, if you look at the American system, everywhere in the world, by American system, you have to litigate as the election is going in each of the polling units. You have to litigate that election. If you find any infraction, you immediately file it at any of the court close to you. There are no tribunals there. You have to be litigating every issue at their cost. So we must have a spontaneous action plan that will be able to arrest those things that happen, especially at the polling unit. It is the polling unit that ends every election. If you look at all the polling results across Nigeria, if you really get them, you find that the results are clean, perfect, because they are praying eyes. There are electorate that are there who have voted for their parties along party lines or along Nigerian interest, and you have party agents at that polling unit that are already interested to see the result, who have been given a copy of the result. So you now have these details that are there. So election copies, especially at the polling, is very clean. It is when it moves on that journey to Babylon, going to collation center, that you find out that all these actors who are always doing, who would only believe that what they have is the protection of those in power, not the protection of the authority given to them by those who are electorate, who are Nigerians, who are the citizens. So this is the problem we have, that we have election that is not only, the process is not only flawed by INEC participation, it is flawed by even the state, those representing the interests of the state actors, security agencies who will shadow this collation center, who will deprive collation agent an agent from other political party
Chief
to entering, delay the process.
Right, Chief Ame, you've spoken about what we need to do, the low-hanging fruits in terms of, where the challenge is. But let's look at another suggestion that you made with regards to costs. You're suggesting that all the elections be held in a single day. With what we have right now, yes, it's very expensive, and I completely understand the perspective of running the elections in a day to save costs. Even with the by-elections we keep having, that's another angle of conversation to look at with all these these politicians who get into positions where people voted them in and midway decide to go for what is perceived to be a higher office, and then thereby costing us much money to be able to conduct by-elections. But that's another conversation for another day. But the current situation we have, even with the fact that we do the election in a number of days, we've still not been able to perfect it. We have a data challenge. We have a number of challenges that mar our election as is. If they were to go by your suggestion, what is the guarantee that that's, one day of conducting the elections will be enough and we won't have the same complications, even more than we already currently have?
In staggered elections, which you call staggered elections, are a fertile ground for electoral manipulation, because there's this power of concentration by state actors on one location. If you have a senatorial election in one place now, you find out that you can have all the authority of those who want to suppress the will of the people. They can mobilize effectively to that location. If you have governorship election, look, we have examples. They are not far away from us. If you look at how almost they will tell you 150,000, 20,000 security agency was mobilized to Edo. So these are our challenges. That we must look at the law. The court made mistakes in the first place to start the staggering of our election and start to create these elections that are not in the general interest of our people. Because if you look at what the court eventually cured before, when the judgment was first given, was that you have to come back and start afresh. But now it is to continue from whoever was removed from office, especially for the executive. We must also do that for the legislative arm, so that whoever has been, if we are serving 2 years, you are removed, whoever comes, we just complete that period, like it's happening today. So we cannot continue a situation where we have this staggered election is a fertile ground for electoral manipulation and electoral voter suppression. So we must consolidate all our election. Whatever law we need to review, we should review them. And I've seen statement from Goodluck Jonathan where he spoke extensively against this staggered election, and because it is not happening anywhere really, or anywhere in the world apart from Nigeria, that you find out and the cost of conducting this election is telling our pulse, is telling our nation. This is a timetable that came out today for this by-election and run was already to come out since December last year. But the INEC, the commission was waiting for resources approval because the commission has approval direct light charge authority to get their money from direct light charge through the National Assembly. So they've been waiting for National Assembly to approve money for over close to a year. So this is the challenges of staggering election. It is so cost intensive. It is it gives it's risks of voter apathy, because people are not really interested in all the small. So the small few who can be mobilized by this party to vote, who maybe mainly party members or people who are sympathizers with those such party, will go and vote any candidate that might not vote generally interested people. We must sustain the energy, the interest of our people by putting elections in one day. The laws are not difficult. The laws are mentioned. It's not something I've always studied this law and I know what it is. If you look at section 132, subsection 2, and that's section 105, subsection 1. These are areas that you can really put together, and you look at them, and then you move to section 64, subsection 1, and section 178, subsection 2. Put them together, review them properly, and then make sure that elections are conducted in one day, so that the energy, the interest is pumped, adrenaline is pumped into that one day election. Sometimes people travel from Lagos to Benin, people travel from Abuja to Makurdi to go and vote on election day, and they take leave because people want to vote in their community where those that will elect will bring positive direct development to their people. So they travel. So are you expecting somebody to travel this week and 2 weeks later the person is traveling again? So these are the things that bring the loopholes in voter, that increase the level of voter apathy in our election, that make people to be disinterested in the electoral process, and then they create a lot of fatigue. So what we need is the concerted effort of the Election Commission to the election management body to see on the part of Nigerians and then remove all these red tapes, all these bottlenecks that are militating against the proper conduct and transparent process of election. If election is transparent, if the process is credible, if it is free and fair, it will definitely have integrity. And if the integrity test is strong, you will see, look, you will see that Nigerians are so happy. You can't have people conducting election after the result of the election is announced. 80% of the country is sad. Where is it done? 80%, you can walk around, you'll see people with sad faces that the election. So people think of data. I'm a data science. People talk of data. Apart from what about data? What about the emotions of the people? You can also read that and see that people are always more sad after the conduct of election than happy. The energy is so strong a day before the election, but day after election, you find everybody just going about the lost interest of the country. The easiest way for Nigerians to commitment and lose interest in this country is the fact that they go to election and don't believe the process and the vote will count.
Okay, well, I think we've covered this conversation, looking at some of the angles in which you've raised some very, very salient points. But let's be hopeful that this complete reform will be done, especially maybe before the 2027 elections, because we do know that a lot of persons are talking about it. They're pushing for a complete electoral reform. We want to say thank you so much for talking to us and taking time out to be here this morning on Breakfast Central. Thank you. Let's move away from that story concerning the electoral reform to another one and tell you that the Senate plenary law reform, particularly focusing on universities, is a story you should know about. Well, the Senate on Tuesday confirmed 2 nominees for the Nigerian Law Reform Commission following the presentation of a committee report, even as one nominee declined her appointment. It also debated and passed for second reading a bill seeking the establishment of a Federal University of Technology in Odukbani, Cross River State. On News Central, Sergei Ibrahim tells us more.
Plenary began with the confirmation of appointments into the Nigerian Law Reform Commission, with 2 out of 3 nominees skilled for Senate approval.
The committee, after the screening exercise, deliberated on the nominee suitability for appointment as chairman and full-time commissioner of the Nigerian Law Reform Commission, and hereby makes the following observations and findings: that the appointments of the nominees satisfy the requirements of Section 2, subsection 1 and 2 of the Nigerian Law Reform Commission Act 2022 and the Senate Standing Orders of 2023.
President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, praised the work of the Judiciary Committee and confirmed the appointment as recommended.
Will the Senate confirm the nomination of Professor Dakas C.J. Dakas, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, representing North Central, for appointment as Chairman of the Nigerian Law Reform Commission? Will the Senate confirm the nomination of Dr. Uchenna Eugene Okulucha, representing South-South, for appointment as Commissioner of the Nigerian Law Reform Commission? Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it.
Next up is the bill seeking to amend the Federal Universities of Technology Act to create a new institution in Odukbani, Cross River State.
This Federal University of Technology in Odukbani will not only bridge the educational gap in our region, but also serve as a vital incubator for innovation, particularly in emerging sectors like fintech, which is one of the fastest growing industries in Nigeria today.
Technology is the most veritable tool that can be deployed to leapfrog our economic development.
To provide for the establishment of the Federal University of Technology Odukbani in Cross River State and for other related matters, 2025.
The bill was then referred to the Committee on Tertiary Education for further legislative action. Meanwhile, the Senate also postponed the Northwest Zonal public hearing on the review of the 1999 Constitution, scheduled for July 5th in Kano State. President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, says the postponement is in honor of Alhaji Aminu Dantata, billionaire businessman and philanthropist who died on Sunday, June 30th.
The Senate resolved to observe 1 minute silence in honor of the late Alhaji Aminu Dantata and also resolve to postpone the zonal constitutional conference of the Northwest to a date to be mutually agreed between the stakeholders of the Northwest as soon as the Deputy Senate President is back from Saudi Arabia.
Akpabio explained that the public hearing will take place in the remaining 5 geopolitical zones in the capital cities of Borno, Plateau, Enugu, Akwa Ibom, and Lagos as their respective locations. In Abuja for News Central, Sakir Ibrahim.
And now let's move to Ogoni community in Rivers State, where the youths stormed Port Harcourt, the state capital, in protest against alleged attacks and killings by suspected herdsmen. The demonstrators, under the banner of the South-South Youth Initiative, marched through major streets and converged at the Rivers State Police Command headquarters as they presented a formal petition calling for decisive action against the killings by herdsmen against these young people. The convener, Xavier Oscar, expresses deep concern over perceived inaction of law enforcement agencies in addressing the alleged killings. Deputy Commissioner of Police in charge of operations in Rivers State, Al-Hassan Kawu, assures that operations are underway to address the situation in Ogoni land.
I want to express my displeasure. One of my displeasure is, yesterday, we received a call on Sunday that because of the signal of this protest, that the Commissioner of Police will want to talk to us or want to address us. We received that call from the OC or the 2OC SIB. The 2OC SIB. When we came to honor that invitation, what the OC SIB informed us was that we should go home and dialogue with our killers. What the SIB, OC SIB informed us is that we should go home and go for dialogue. That he has been calling the headsman, the chairman of the Fulani headsman, and that they have not been able to get him, and that we should not go ahead and do any protest.
Good afternoon, great Ogoni people. My name is Al-Hassan Kawe. I'm a Deputy Commissioner of Police. Personally, the Commissioner of Police is supposed to have been here to address you people, but just as the OCSID told you yesterday, not that he wasn't ready to talk to you, but because of other important commitments as yours. So that was why, even today, he's somewhere along Igirita Road, attending to some other important matters. My Commissioner of Police has been very, very serious with the issue of herdsmen and the community where they live. I've been a witness to several meetings he has held with them. And on several occasions, he encouraged the various DPOs and area commanders to have a stakeholder meeting with them in order to come out with a solution to all these crises we've been having. I am very sure, and I assure you, that he will never joke with your request, and I am sure he's going to take a very drastic decision on this and ensure that this menace come to an end.
We'll expect to get feedback from the Ogoni youth, and we hope that they find a middle ground, that the killings do not persist. These young people deserve answers, and kudos to the police for responding to them. But beyond the talk, we want to see action. Yeah, you wanted to say something about that?
No.
Yeah, okay.
You've said it all.
All right. Let's bring you a recap of what we've looked at this morning and also share what's coming up next. This morning on Breakfast Central, we talked about the controversy trailing electoral reforms, particularly with Section 65, Sub 1 of the Electoral Act. We also looked at insecurity in Rivers State with the Ogoni youth protesting the alleged killings, and the Senate plenary Law Reform University Bill top proceedings. Sagir Ibrahim brought us the update in that report. But now let's share with you what's coming up next. Lagosians gear up ahead of local government elections happening today. Policy makers need to address Nigeria's energy poverty inequality, and joint security outfit arrests 3 suspects in Abia over alleged cattle rustling.
Welcome back to Breakfast Central. Despite being richly endowed with oil, gas and solar resources, Nigeria still grapples with significant energy poverty. Industry experts at the ministerial session of the Nigeria Oil and Gas Energy Week in Abuja say bridging this gap will require stronger, enhanced policy frameworks, collaboration and alignment on geopolitical fronts to ensure a just and inclusive energy transition. News Central correspondent Aishat Salihu has the details.
The ministerial session focused on securing Nigeria's energy future, highlighting current production levels at 1.745 million barrels of crude oil per day, with targets set to hit 2 million barrels per day by the end of 2025. Nigeria also boasts of over 200 trillion cubic feet of proven natural gas reserves. Stakeholders emphasize the growing role of indigenous oil companies, especially as international oil firms shift to offshore operations.
We are committed to national development. Our mandate remains rooted in 3 pillars: ensuring energy security, enabling economic growth, and creating long-term value for the country. And critically, we see ourselves not only as participants in energy transition, but as leaders.
We have increased production by 300,000 barrels. That shows that we have indigenous capacity. We have value retention in the country. But for us to sustain this momentum, we need to also sustain our program of capacity building. And this is where PTDF is very strategic, NCDM is very strategic, other PTI and other agencies are very strategic.
Attention also turned to Nigeria's heavy reliance on unclean energy sources and the broader implications for climate change. Experts stressed the urgent need for clean, accessible and affordable energy for all Nigerians.
For what I have studied within the system is that we have investors that are ready to invest into the sector, but the evacuation has been a very big hindrance. Today, the GCEO has talked about the Niger crossing, which will boost production of gas from the Niger Delta region, evacuation into the gas pipeline. And beyond that, when the AKK is completed, we will have it channeling gas to the northern part of the country.
As the oil and gas industry leaders take the charge on repositioning Nigeria's place in the energy sector to be at par with global standards while meeting local and regional needs, there are calls on the service industry to return to the country where there is a conducive business environment for a healthy competition with opportunities to foster better collaboration and bridge the energy gaps. In Abuja, for News Central, Aishat Salihu.
Interesting report there, and we look forward to seeing good things come out of that.
Yes, I mean, how can you be blessed with such abundant sunshine and we still have energy poverty? I mean, God has given us everything we need to thrive. The entire southern coast of Nigeria is surrounded by the Atlantic Ocean. We can harness the waves, and we also have sunshine for we could also put desalination plants there, for irrigation purposes. We have fertile land. Nigeria is really a blessed country. And we need to are saying very positive things to about Nigeria. When they say Nigeria happens to you, you shouldn't have negative connotations. It should always be positive. So let's start.
So I can start with you and say, may Nigeria happen to you?
Yes, in a positive way. The blessings of Nigeria may come upon me.
Why you qualifying it?
Let me be specific. Let Angel not go and catch the wrong prayer.
Anyway,
but I get what you're saying.
We're on the break now. When we come back, we do have another conversation that we want to look at, a very key conversation, and it's got to do with what's going to take place in the local government elections as well. That's going to hold pretty soon. So after the break, we have our guests in the house. We'll talk about it in a moment. Stay with us. Well, we're right back now, and we'll have a guest in the studio. But before we go to our guests, let's tell you about a very interesting story right now. The opposition coalition has adopted a political party. We thought it was going to be the beautiful bride of the SDP, and some said there was ADA. But then again, there's a new one, and it's got to do with a new political party, but not new. It's been in existence. We're talking about the ADC. Now, this is a major step in their efforts to unseat the current ruling party, the APC. The coalition has also come out to make some announcements. Now, some of the interim leaders and members of the party have been mentioned. Former Senate President David Mark has been installed as national chairman. Well, the word installed, yeah, maybe, okay. While the immediate past Minister of Interior, Rauf Aragbeshola, will be the national secretary. Ex-Minister of Sports, Bolaji Abdullahi, was appointed as spokesperson of the party, so you have 3 positions that have been taken. The coalition was said to have reportedly tried to register a new party, which many said ADA, some have called it ADA after initial talks, but ADC and Social Democratic Party, SDP, had broken down. But it appears talks with ADC have turned around in their favor. We're supposed to have a guest join us from the ADC, but unfortunately, he seems to be on a round-robin trip, possibly because of what has just unfolded, like we've mentioned to you here, where they have a spokesperson, they have a chairman, they have a secretary, and these names are not new names, they are known names to Nigeria's political landscape. But without further ado, we're going to touch on this because it's a big and developing story. And like I mentioned, we're expected to have a guest from the political party join us, but unfortunately, he's currently on the road, so we'll get to connect with him, hopefully, if not today, maybe tomorrow, to speak with him on that.
Now let's move on to other matters. Lagos appears to be buzzing with political energy as the July 12 local government elections draw near. From Sulete, residents are gearing up to cast their votes at the forthcoming poll, and political parties are pulling out all stops. These elections may not have the glitz of national polls, but they're arguably as important as the general elections.
Of course they are, especially as local governments are the closest to the people. They control primary health care, waste management, local roads, and even the markets. Lagos has 20 local government areas and 37 LCDAs. The ruling party, that's the APC, has dominated local politics for over 2 decades. But this year, opposition parties like PDP, Labour Party, and even some new grassroots movements are making noise about taking over these structures. Now, joining us to discuss these preparations ahead of the July 12 local government elections is Surulere local government PDP chairmanship candidate Babajide Benson. Good morning. Thank you very much for joining us.
Morning, Mr. Benson. Thanks for joining us.
I mean, my question would be, we never saw this switch coming because Babajide has been a political and, of course, a public affairs analyst here on different news platforms. So have you been nurturing this, or you just feel like, and why did
what drove you?
And why the PDP?
So which one should I answer first?
First of all, I think
they're the same question.
Then why PDP?
Why PDP? Because I wanted to be in a political party. And I imagine that that's very heavy, because you want to be in a place where you can contest, you can argue, and people will see reason with your argument and give you an opportunity. You don't want to be in a place where somebody's word is here and amen. And now to answer your question, have I been nurturing it? Yes, I've been nurturing. I've been part of politics in my local government for about 2 decades. I've been very active in community activities. I consider myself a public-spirited person, and politics is the natural next step when you've done a number of things in the community. So, yes.
Okay, I want to go back to your response about
Yes.
why the PDP, because it's a political party, where somebody's voice, somebody's word isn't here and amen.
Yeah.
So what party would you infer that someone's voice is here and amen if you're joining them? Why didn't you join the APC? Why didn't you join the Labour Party? Why didn't you join the NNPP? There are other political parties that you could have joined.
Well, I have a different kind of thinking, and the way the APC is currently structured, at least in my local government, it's not something that will give me the opportunity that I think I have now. I don't think that if I was a member of the APC, I would be the candidate of the party. And there's clearly a need for a new kind of thinking at the local government level. I think I disagree with a bit of your opening statement where it said that local government elections are one of the most important. It's not. It's actually the most important, because at every given point in our lives, we are in a local government. We all live in a local government. We all work in a local government. Every impact of government affects us in a local government part time. So we're here now in Ojodu LCDA. I don't know where you live. When you're going back home, you're going to commute through local governments. So when even at the grassroots level or on the road or wherever you may be, I mean, I think it's wrong for people to point accusing fingers at the president or the governors, whereas some of those issues are primarily the responsibilities of local governments.
And these are some of the things that happens all the time. It's very important, but on paper, we say the local government is important. There's 774 of them across the length and breadth of the federation, and it's the closest to the people. Knowing how important this is, why is it that the psychology of the average Nigerian is wired to point fingers at Abuja, at the presidency, at the slightest inconvenience? And it seems local government chairmen as they've had a free reign and pass in, nobody holds them accountable for basically anything. How do we begin to change this mentality? And do you see you making a difference? And are we is the focus now that the presidency has said, look, they're going to get their allocation directly? Do you think the operations and the focus will change?
Okay, so first of all, what is the reason for the apathy? I imagine that's the question that you're asking, and it's because local government elections take place at different times in different states. If we had a uniform elections across the 774, or at least majority of them, the story will be different, because it means that every state, every community, their attention will be on it. Because when it's time for the general elections, everybody's talking about their states, and everybody's talking about the president and the vice president. But now the discussion about local government elections is happening only in Lagos State. I think in the Federal Capital Territory, it will happen in a few weeks after. Ebonyi State is planned for next year. A few months ago, it held in another state. So it now becomes a state affair. And even where it happens in a state, the people don't have as much interest. You'll be surprised that the number of people already have plans scheduled for July 12, not knowing that on that day there will be restriction of movement. And so that tells you the extent of apathy. Now, in 1998, when we had the first round of elections of this democracy, the local government elections were the first. It happened in December 1998. And it was a national event, and people paid attention to it. But what then happened was that governors took hold of the local governments because they saw the powers that the local governments had. And they started to whittle down the powers of the local government. And so you had local government chairmen who were elected who didn't spend the number of terms, the time that they were supposed to spend constitutionally. And now almost every state governor wants to control the local government, is controlling the local government. I mean, it's a good thing that the president has granted local autonomy to all the local government, but I don't think that that's on paper. In reality, many states are still breathing down the necks of local governments. Right after the president's, right after the local government autonomy was granted, I mean, Oyo State took a different path, Anambra State took a different path, and we're going to see a lot more of such. Am I going to make it different? Definitely, because...
With the current structure?
With the current structure, even with, yes, am I going to make it different? Even with the current structure, there's a lot that can be done. There's still a lot of room for improvement, in spite of the fact that you almost can't do anything without the governor of your state or some powers that be with a new kind of thinking, with vision, with innovative thinking, one can achieve a great deal of success.
If you say that the local government autonomy that was granted by the court in July of 2024
Yes.
is only on paper in
Yes.
most states,
Yes.
you're looking to occupy an office here in Lagos,
Yes.
and I'm sure that you've also done your due diligence to find out if that is also the position.
Okay.
So is that the position in Lagos State? And if yes, how do you hope to circumvent that?
Well, I just answered that question, which is that with what is even on ground, there's still a lot can be done. The quality of thinking at local government matters a lot. Once upon a time, you had people who from local government aspired to bigger offices, maybe governor. The material, the quality of leadership at the local government should be such that years after, those people can aspire to whether it's a governor or senate or what's. We have left the local government leadership for what's our third or worst 11. There was a certain kind of elite thinking that was at the local government back in the days when we were growing up. There was the town council, there was the health, the inspectorate service in education, in health, but all of those things have gone to the dustbin. So that is what I will be bringing to the table.
Okay, no, what I'm asking is completely different from what you're answering.
Okay.
What I'm asking is if that is the position where
Yes.
there isn't autonomy, because
Yes.
you're saying it's on paper.
Yes.
The question is you may bring excellent leadership.
Yes.
You may bring, you may be the finest quality and the finest crop.
Yes.
But you have to be able to work with the governor of the state.
Absolutely.
So how do you hope to work if you're saying that that is what the current situation is in Lagos State?
Like the resources that come to the local government, the internally generated revenue at the local government, still able, like that's why I've answered the question quite frankly. Maybe I just made a detour. With what still comes to the local government and the revenue generated by the local government, a lot more can be done. There's a lot of room for improvement. You don't find that in many local governments at this time.
Okay, I would like to tweak it slightly because you're looking at a structure and you're looking at a mentality and a culture of, this money is ours, we just show up to work, or we don't even show up at the end of the day, we share all the proceeds. Nobody's going to hold us accountable. And this is what they've been used to years after years. You're one person. You're going to have to work with councillors and the local government staff. How do you now begin to change that mentality? Because they would see you as, you're taking food away from their plate. Because, it's one thing to say it, it's another thing to do, to face the reality of, and the level of impunity you'll be dealing with, the culture of impunity.
Okay, first of all, it's not just me. There's a running mate and there's a team of councillors, and there's also the party. And don't forget that the PDP hasn't achieved much successes in Lagos State. And therefore, when we get into office, one of the things that we intend to do is to tell a different story. So we're going to get the buy-in of those people that you have talked about. Like, look, you've come this far with the existing structure. How about we together navigate a different path? And so they will be part of the journey. So it's not me going to, as it were, rock their boat. They're going to be partners in progress.
Okay. All right. For me, I'd like us to look at a different aspect with the conversation concerning the elections. Prior to the elections, we did see fights, especially from other political parties, where they said they had spent a lot of money to buy the forms and so on. And then there's this thing within Lagos, because we're focused on Lagos State now, where it's much more like a given that if you're not a member of the APC, you dare not smell that political seat or position. So how did you emerge in terms of ensuring that you would represent the PDP? Was it the same stance for the PDP where people purchase forms for 5 million naira we hear? And looking at the elections in itself, sometimes it could be violent. How are you certain that this year wouldn't be violent?
Okay, so thank you. The forms in PDP were not as expensive as that of the party that you mentioned. And which is
why are you running away from mentioning the I don't understand.
Well, you know what I'm talking about, and you talked about the violence that was part of that process of producing candidates, and for us it presents an opportunity because many of the candidates that they're parading today either didn't run in the primaries or were imposed. There are situations in certain local governments where the person on the posters today, the person who is the candidate of the party, did not even obtain a form. And maybe because they couldn't reach a truce amongst those who were interested, they decided to dispense with all of them and then choose somebody altogether. And so that's something that we are going to take advantage of. To answer your question, I am also a Surulere boy. I consider it my home and my place of pride. I've been watered and nurtured by the streets of Surulere. So I know our pain points, and that is why I'm in this race. At the beginning, I also said that I wanted to be in a place where I could ask questions to people who are considered leaders in the party. And I did that, and that's how I emerged. And I didn't start today, actually.
When you talk, okay.
Anyway, I just wanted to add, I mean, I was born and bred in Surulere as well. So
woo! Up Surulere, man!
Street keep urging you to do more.
Binga.
Oh, go on.
Relax.
No, the streets keep urging us to do more, always.
It is true, though.
I mean, but my point is, I mean, you've talked about, there's also this challenge where local government chairmen don't live within the local government. Yeah. Once they are, they win the elections appointed, they move away from there, and so on and so forth. How is this going to be different, especially in the case of a PDP, where you have the current ruling party, which is the APC, proliferating everywhere in terms of different local government areas, states, and so on, and then most of them don't even live there. So how do you think you just come in there, take them away, win, and then change the entire narrative, which seems to be something that's constant?
Well, I live in Surulere. I work in Surulere. I have no plans to leave Surulere anytime soon. The people that I am talking to are more than people who are politicians. And that's a mistake we make a lot of times during elections. The focus is always on the politicians, whether those who are holding offices or it's those who are party members. But the population of the people in every local government, I think is probably an 85 or 90% of apolitical people to people who are card-carrying members. And so those are people that we need to reach out to a lot more. A few years ago, at an event organized by, what's his name now? Mr. Muiz Banere, he had asked El Rufai, who was the speaker at the event, that how do you change such narrative? And his response was very simple: go to the people. So Muiz Banere asked the question, Nasir El Rufai answered that question, and Peter Obi put it into action. And that's why we saw the results of the presidential elections in Lagos State. But many times we limit our campaigns to people who we consider politically active people. But if you go to residents' associations, community development associations, youth groups, churches, mosques, small businesses, and what have you, these people are voters. Many of them have voters' card. But you find that many of them simply obtain their voters' card as a what do you call it, as a national ID issue, and just obtain it and keep it. But when you actually throw a challenge to them, and when they see somebody who they consider quite reasonable, they would perform their civic duty.
Did you share rice?
No, we don't have those kind of resources.
Yeah.
We don't have those kind of resources. No, we don't have that. No, I mean, you can find out. I mean, you're a journalist.
And how do you then intend to win a party that maybe has that level of influence?
Well, so the election is weaponized. Well, I mean, it's been said, the election is the people versus the party in power.
Okay. What would you say are the most concerning issues, if you could pinpoint top 3 issues in Surulere local government area as we speak, that you tend to focus on if you emerge as chairman?
I think one will be fine, but I'd answer 3. The youth restiveness and the energy that is bursting, and we're not able to channel it to useful endeavors. So the talent pool for area boys, and if you like area girls, is open. And we need to nip that in the bud. So if you run a business today, a small business, a medium-sized business, and you want to hire people, not a lot of people, first of all, you are unlikely to get the quality of talents that you're looking for. And then maybe not a lot of them would want to do those kind of jobs, maybe 8 to 5 or 1 to. So a lot of young people are looking for quick money. And so they will tend to what you call updates or turn up
climb the ceiling,
and what you refer to as Omo Adubo and area boys and what have you. So, and Surulere is a place of energy and enterprise. You only need to go to the National Stadium in the morning, and there's talent all around you in entertainment, in gymnastics. So we're going to harness all of that. And, you know, we're going to sell a different story. Like, look, this is who you are, and this is what you can be in a matter of months or years. So that's primarily it. The second thing is security. I mean, the irreducible minimum for us will be that every police station should have broadband internet. I mean, in 2025, a policeman should not be at the station and have to spend his or her money to buy data. If you had interactions with people who had to engage with the police station, sometimes they want to do as little as getting them to come over to the place. They have to provide them transportation. They have to provide them recharge card.
Mobilization
so, yes,
funds.
I mean, a simple arrangement of internet for development with broadband internet service providers will be to install their modems and routers in, and there are only 4 police stations in Surulere. So it's a very low-hanging fruit. It's not something that we should be concerned about.
Okay. Harnessing youth energy and ensuring that you guarantee security through providing internet in the police stations.
I mean, that's just that would be a basic contribution, because don't forget that policing is the exclusive preserve of the federal government, so we'll simply be complementing what the state government is doing. Okay.
I think the major concern that we've heard a lot of young people express when it comes to politicians would be the fact that a number of people go there with genuine intent, and on getting there, they become somebody else. Absolutely. Or they come out and realize that, and then they start to make excuses for politicians. Why should young people trust you?
Because I connect with them, because I feel their pain points. One of the things I do for a living is teaching. I'm a lecturer, and the generation of the people that I talk to are part of the people that I teach in class. So I think I'm more connected with any other person who's going to be on the ballot. I mean, I speak their language. I'm showing a clearer path of what they are, what they can be from where they are now. So, I mean, that's enough reason for them to trust me.
And would you say that you have the 100% support of your party? Or I ask this is because we saw a few months ago when Jando, who was the gubernatorial candidate for the PDP at the last elections in Lagos State, said that he did not get the support. He initially got the support of his party, but later Bode George was actively campaigning for Peter Obi, and those were one of the reasons he left the party, and he said he's going to demolish the structure of the PDP in Lagos State. That demolished structure, do you think it will affect you? So it's a maybe double question, right? So do you have 100% support of the party? Would you say that the structure of the party has been demolished in a way by Jando Adediran? Will that affect you? Dr. Adediran. And will that affect you at the elections?
First of all, I mean, the party has presented candidates in all 57, 20 local governments and 37 LCDAs. And there's been no bone of contention. There are no factions of candidates. So we are fully, we're 100% supported by the party structure. I mean, there's no contestation about that. 2 insurance companies merged recently, and I think when they were going to address the press, it was their MDs or GMDs who spoke to the audience. And so when a party is going to collapse into another structure, they don't call a branch manager to talk about what the party is doing. I mean, we talked about the ADC just now before, and you can see the caliber of people who are representing the different blocks that are coming into the APC.
Not the branch manager.
You don't talk about an inanimate object, for want of a better word. Thank you.
Okay. Now, we've seen this pattern when it comes to local government elections in recent past in different states in Nigeria. For example, in Labour Party in Abia State swept the polls. It's almost 100%. It's almost like an exercise in futility. But Lagos State prides itself as a center of excellence. It's very cosmopolitan. The people's thinking is different. Does this give you any hope, or are you concerned about the powers of the incumbents, the ruling party in the state, making a clean sweep of local governments, as we've seen this pattern play out in different states?
Oh yes, I mean, if I say that there are no concerns, I'll be telling a lie, because I mean, up till 2 days ago, the electoral umpire was still validating the documents of some of the candidates.
That's the Lagos State Independent Electoral Commission.
And one of the things that we have raised ab initio was that you don't leave that to the very last minute. So let's say, for instance, that you find a candidate whose papers are fake or incomplete or genuine, then you then start to disqualify a candidate 10 days election. What that does is that it unsettles whichever party it is, whichever local government or whichever ward that. So you don't. So we had raised this, but the argument or their response was that the electoral timetable was cast in stone and it was not going to be. So we are concerned about that. And to answer the question about the party at the state level sweeping the polls, yes, that has been the norm. But we're certain that if we put up a good fight, which is what we're putting up, if we run a good race, there is and can be a tipping point.
All right. Honorable Yusuf has a very strong hold in Sulere, whether I like it or not. And this is somebody you're going against, head to head. Prior to that, there were celebrations of the former local government chairman as well in Sulere, who the APC had given a vote of confidence that he's done absolutely well. The people in Sulere have been used to the APC, and many have said that the only way to outsmart or remove the APC from the seat of power in Lagos State is to start from the local government, which you've said is very, very important, and we agree with you. So what's the possibility of ensuring that you can go head-to-head with Honorable Sule and ensure that you're going to win?
So maybe this is the time to say thank you for inviting me, and maybe the same way you have invited me, maybe we should invite him and to hear his views.
Yeah,
so when you think that he's strong, I think that is the impression they're trying to give. I don't think that he's more popular than me. If he were not local government chairman, I don't think that he'll hold a candle to me on any issues. And I say that very confidently. And to the second part of your question is, like I have answered it before, the people that vote, they are a lot more than the people who are politicians, who are APC members, and who are APC supporters. And I've said again that this is an election of the people versus the party in power.
Are you confident in the process?
And the umpire?
I'm fairly confident.
100% confident?
I wouldn't say 100%, but I'm fairly confident.
So what are you putting in? Anyway, maybe you might want to go through the route.
Because it's not a race that I am alone I'm running. There's the party establishment that has to do certain things. There's only so much that a candidate of the party can do, and I'm limited to doing whatever I can within my local government.
You're not giving bag of rice, you're not giving bread, you're not giving satin, you're not giving materials, you're not taking the women out on a dance troupe. You're not doing either.
No,
of
I'm not
that.
saying we're not going to do that. So taking
so that means we'll see you do a street
tour.
tour.
No, there's going to be rally. Yes, we're going to do street tour. We're going to do. We're still doing. We're already doing those things.
Okay.
House to house, door to door. They are the different levels.
At least we're expecting plate of rice, so you call it.
Well, I don't know about that, but the people will see us and they'll touch us, and we'll touch them and we'll engage with them.
But is there a worry, especially because in the past, not just with this election, the past election, one thing we've seen, and several other elections really, is the weaponization of poverty. And the quality of life, whilst the ruling party would argue that it's gotten better, I think the metrics of determining that it's gotten better is from what it was maybe last year. So right now the bleeding has stopped. But it doesn't mean that things have gotten really better. There are people who don't know where their next meal will come from. And every time we're seeing the outcry on social media. So in a country where we're still grappling with the effect of certain policies that were made, how, do you worry that poverty may be weaponized?
Yeah, poverty is already being weaponized.
At the polls against you?
What we're telling the people is whatever they bring to you, whatever they offer you, collect it, but do what you're supposed to do. We don't doubt that they're going to do those things. They are stock in trade. So we're not saying when they bring rice, when they bring bonds, when they bring whatever brand of sausages, when they bring money, when they bring food, collect it. But just know that if you collect it and that determines your votes, you're going back to where you've been complaining about. And
but if they collect it, does that not mean that you're endorsing bribe?
Say again?
If you ask them to collect it, does that not mean that you're endorsing bribe? Because it's their commonwealth.
It's our commonwealth. Anybody who invests in the political process like that, he would expect to get returns. So, and I've said again that even as bad as the situation is, I think we can still make, lemonade out of lemons?
Yes, it is. Or pepper soup out of pepper.
Anyway, it's been a very interesting conversation. We look forward to have Honorable Sule join us. We'll try as much as possible to reach all the candidates.
As many as we can get
possible before the 12th. and see if we can have conversations around the elections, because it's very important and sad at the same time that in as much as the local government elections are very important, enough attention, the most important, enough attention is not paid towards it.
Many people don't know that there's an election happening
on
next Saturday.
What's going on?
Yeah, so that actually is part of their agenda, so that people will not be aware, so that the turnout is not massive, so that they can do what they've always done.
Okay. Anyway, so we are counting down the days to the next elections, the local government elections happening in Lagos State next Saturday. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much. We wish you all the best for your campaign.
Thank you very much. Let's move on to another story very quickly. Tenants of Maina's Court Estate, a commercial property located in Abuja's Central Business District, are raising alarm over continuous harassment by authorities, including AMCON, the Nigeria police alleged thugs as well. Following yet another police-led sealing of the premises, affected business owners say the repeated disruptions are crippling their operations and are calling for a peaceful resolution to the ownership dispute without punishing law-abiding tenants. Well, just take a look at this video and then we'll introduce our guest in a moment.
Woke up to an ex parte motion from a magistrate court expecting us to vacate the building within 1 hour. Now, we have installations there, we have businesses, we have a lot of inconveniences to go through, but these people came with police, with thugs, and everybody. They were shouting, banging doors, that we must leave the premises with our properties in 1 hour. It's so disheartening that this kind of impunity can happen in the very seat of power in Nigeria.
Abisogun, who has operated from the building for 13 years, says the disruption have not only hurt his business, but have also caused emotional and financial strain.
For us, we don't know what is going on. I'm a tenant.
Well, that's just a snippet of what's really happening. But joining us now is Ayodeji Abidogun. He's a tenant in Maina's Court Estate. I would like to get a direct understanding of what's really going on. We do hear there's been a back and forth tussle over ownership. Or can you tell us what's really happening?
All right, thank you very much. Good morning, viewers. Good morning, Nigerians. For us, as tenants, we have an obligation to pay our rent as at when due, and also to conduct our businesses to Nigerians in a manner that is acceptable by law. And that we've been doing in that plaza. However, sometimes early last year, some guy came to the premises with police, numbering about 20, and said everybody should vacate. And they said they got an ex parte order. And when we inquired from our landlord told us and showed us documents backing that that the matter is pending at the Federal High Court, waiting for judgment. If a matter is pending in Federal Court for judgment, then I think the ideal thing is for the parties involved to wait for the outcome of that process. So we had to plead to them, and they told us they're from AMCON. So we went to AMCON's office. We let them understand what they're doing, that is how it's affecting our business. And we had to go back to the court. At this point, the tenants had to join in the suit, requesting that their businesses need to be protected. And we got an order, a ruling that says that the tenants should not be disturbed. So we went back to the property, and about 3 months thereafter, another set of police with hoodlums came and said we need to vacate, that they have another order. How can you get another order from another court? So eventually that was vacated, and early this year, I think in the month of March precisely, we got another order pasting on the wall that that the management want to carry out maintenance within the building, and that we need to vacate the premises immediately to allow for maintenance. And we contacted our landlord, that's Maina Ventures Limited. We contacted them to ask, are you carrying out any maintenance without telling us? And he said no. Okay, so as that was going on, another order came from magistrate court that that there's a case of trespass by some unknown people. We are not unknown people. We are here. We are law-abiding citizens. We are conducting our business, and as you can see, like we told the court bailiff, as you can see, everybody is in their offices. So with that, we were told to leave the premises. Well, we left, and we told the landlord, this is now becoming unpleasant to us. And tenants start saying, oh, they're going to sue the landlord, they're going to sue government. But we left the premises. And eventually, that investigation was carried out, and nothing happened. We were told to return back to the building. On Monday last week, just around 11 a.m. in the morning, police showed up within the premises, numbering about 20, with some young guys, hungry-looking guys, thugs. And what we learned from those guys was that the thugs said they were given money to attack anybody that raised his voice, or to enter offices and destroy properties. So we had to leave, and I think that day, thanks to your team, one of them came around to equally see what was going on. And for us, we are not a party to whatever is going on, but we are legal tenants, and we believe that our tenancy agreement needs to be respected. We should be, if government cannot provide the job, we in the private sector creating the job, we should be encouraged, not to be discouraged. So there's another last week Monday from Inspector General of Police, according to the order, Inspector General of Police versus one Suleiman Chafe. Suleiman Chafe is not known to us. We had an agreement with Maina Ventures Limited, which is the owner of the property. So if you have issue with one Suleiman Shafi, I think the ideal thing is to deal with that individual. You don't bring your issues to an environment where people are conducting their legal businesses. In that complex, we had there's hospital in that. There's a clinic in that complex. There are training organizations, training firms, students, people come into the premises to write international exams, and those exams have been disrupted. This is today is Wednesday. Okay, imagine for 8 working days, and you shut down businesses. There are installations for construction companies and some other people that were affected by this order. So our appeal is that government should protect the business, not to be disrupting our businesses. So on Monday, we were at magistrate court where the order emanated from, and the judge gave a ruling and dismissed the case that we should be given access. Today is Wednesday. We're still not given access. And I was told yesterday that the court bailiff went to Inspector General of Police office, and that they refused to collect, they refused to be served on the outcome of the ruling from the judge. So this is becoming too much, and we feel that if things continue this way, then we will be committing, and it means that the government will be abating crime, because youth that need to be engaged. For example, in my organization, I have staff numbering in that premises alone. I have about 10 staff, and all the people that come in to do one training or the other, you shut them out. This is 8 days, 8 business working days. Today is Wednesday, and that happened on Monday.
Okay, all right, Mr. Bitoku. Mr. Bitogu, we get the point. We've looked at this very critical story. One thing we'd say is we'd love to have you back because our team is also reaching out to some of the names that you've mentioned, and hopefully when they come, they'll also give their own side of the story. But please do keep the lines open. We look forward to communicate with you again. Thanks so much for joining us. Thank you. We'll now quickly go to our news headlines right now here on Breakfast Headlines. Straight to tell you what the latest stories are here on Breakfast Headlines this morning on Breakfast Central. Our very first story takes us right away to the elections. Let's talk about politics first, where the opposition coalition will formally adopt the African Democratic Congress, ADC, as its political platform and unveil its interim leadership on Wednesday in Abuja. Former Nigerian Senate President David Mark and ex-Osun State Governor Rauf Aregbesola have been appointed interim chairman and secretary, respectively, of the African Democratic Congress. The appointments were confirmed following a high-level opposition meeting in Abuja on Tuesday night. A former sports minister, Bolaji Abdullahi, was also named interim national publicity secretary. The ADC has been adopted as the coalition platform for key opposition figures, including Atiku Abubakar, Peter Obi, and Nasir El-Rufai, to challenge President Bola Tinubu in the 2027 elections. In the meantime, prominent leaders of the People's Democratic Party are raising alarm over what they describe as the deepening crisis within the party and the nation. Meeting in Abuja on Tuesday, the group decried internal instability caused by poor leadership, disregard for the party's constitution, and interference from the ruling All Progressives Congress. Describing Nigeria as a nation in distress, leaders of the PDP say the time has come for genuine patriots to forge a new path toward national salvation. The leaders also accused the APC-led federal government of economic mismanagement, worsening insecurity, and a steady erosion of democratic values. In response, they resolved to support a coalition of like-minded political actors committed to unity, accountability, and credible elections in 2027. The Independent National Electoral Commission has said that it would issue a supplementary regulation to clarify the review process for election results under Section 65 of the Electoral Act 2022. The Commission stated that its intervention became necessary due to growing concerns over conflicting interpretations of the provision. INEC Chairman Professor Mahmood Yakubu disclosed this on Tuesday during the second quarterly consultative meeting with resident electoral commissioners at the Commission's headquarters in Abuja. This move comes as the Commission prepares to conduct 5 major elections within next year. All the way from politics now, President Bola Tinubu has faced criticism for offering scholarships to students from St. Lucia and other Caribbean countries to study in Nigerian universities. President Tinubu's announcement that the scholarship program for students from the Organization of Eastern Caribbean States to study in Nigerian universities will commence in the next academic year. Speaking earlier on the news, an education consultant and policy analyst, Professor Yomi Fawemi, argued this move is ill-timed given the country's severe education crisis. Professor Fawemi said the president should prioritize fixing Nigeria's education system instead of extending scholarships abroad.
I personally feel that announcement was just a feel-good gesture announcement. For one, is that the St. Lucians asked for a scholarship scheme from Nigeria. No, we did not hear that from their speech. It was the president that made the request. So for me, I think it's an economic thing. 200,000 people. And remember, St. Lucia has, I think, 4 universities. Some records show 3, some records show 4. So they are not, they have enough. When you think about 200,000, you're talking about a population less than Ekpe or less than a part of Ikeja, and there are 34 universities. So universities is not their problem. So maybe the president just wonders, what can I announce that will make St. Lucians happy and respect me for that and applaud me for that. But I don't know which St. Lucian will be coming to Nigeria because of this scholarship. I also wonder the contradiction. The president announcing that, I was wondering, what is he really talking about? Because if you check our educational sector, in April this year, the federal government of Nigeria announced the cancellation of the bilateral scholarship programs that many Nigerians are benefited from. And maybe more contradictory is the fact that, so which university are they coming to? Just a couple of days back, or today or yesterday, ASU gave a warning that they could go on strike. Is that where you're giving scholarship to? And universities are cash grab. And perhaps maybe the most annoying of the contradiction, if I'll talk about the three contradictions I see in the announcement, is that public primary schools in Federal Capital Territory have been on strike for over 3 months. That's where the president lives. That's where the Minister for Education lives. That's where the Minister of Health lives. That's where the Chief Justice of Nigeria lives. That's where the Senate President, the House of Reps Speaker live. They have been on strike for almost a month over money. You didn't solve the problem in Abuja. You're going to announce scholarship for St. Lucia's resident. It looks pretty ridiculous. And what's all of this about?
And over now to security matters. 3 suspected cattle rustlers have been arrested and paraded in Umuahia. The security advisor to Governor Alex Oti, MacDonald Uba, during the parade, said the joint security team acted on an intelligence on the planned rustling and thereby prevented what would have been a huge security issue. Also, the leader of the northern community in the southeast zone, who is also resident in Abia State, Danladi Taro, said the arrest was made possible because of the collaboration between the farmers, herders, and security agencies in the state.
So these rustlers were caught in our here. Rustling cattle they had already arranged for the buyers from their fellow Fulani herdsmen. Part of their action would have meant disaster for the citizens of that Ohia community, if not for the swift action of Operation Crush.
I want to live in peace. I want to live in peace with the host community. Without seeing these people yesterday or anything, you know, the Ohia community would have been in a mess. So I thank God for this thing. I was with the people that arrested.
And that's all we have for you on the news here on Breakfast Headlines. Don't forget to catch a full news bulletin at 12 here on News Central. We're going to a quick break. When we come back, the front pages is up next.
This is a newspaper review segment where you call in. We open the phone lines. The numbers to call are on your TV screen. And joining us to review this is public affairs analyst Sheson Okwade. Good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, good morning.
Morning. Great to see you.
Good morning.
Beautiful morning. You're looking very sharp and dapper, I must say.
Thank you very much.
Seems he just arrived from St. Lucia.
I just arrived.
What do you make of the president giving the students,
St. Lucia's
students, scholarship to come and
study
school
in Nigerian University?
In University of Ibadan, University of Port Harcourt,
or Ambrose Ali University.
Ambrose Ali, National Open University.
Well, you see,
Old Man Danford University in Sokoto.
Yeah, you see, it's a good wish, a good desire by Mr. President, but you ask yourself, what are those measures that you've actually put in locally, security-wise, one, infrastructure. I'm sure not in the next few months you start hearing about ASU going on strike. As ASU is coming on their own, NASU we go. So the academic staff union are on board, and the non-academic are going. And before you know it, you talked about infrastructure gap, where, the level at which education is going this day, you need power. And how strategic are we putting power in infrastructure? Most of the schools we're talking about, are they on alternative power supply, where you don't rely on the national grid that fails, or are they on band A, let me put it that way. And for those that are on band A, are those costs affordable for them to pay in such a way that they can meet up? A lot of things. It's not enough for you to just go into the open space and ask people to come in. Those of us within, have we actually benefited from some of the largest? How many of the children of the people working with Mr. President are going to those schools? That's where we must start from. Because I always tell people, Oliver has a school. The son or the daughter, hypothetically, attends Benga school, and she's inviting me to bring my kids to her school. How do you expect me to patronize you? Your children are leaving for foreign schools because they can see the failure within. We are not fixing that. We are inviting people.
That is if our Nigerian students have not even started researching academic situation in St. Lucia to see if they can go abroad and
I'm sure if you go and put up your research, we have the largest number in that particular St. Lucia.
Oh, yes. There was a picture of Mr. President with a Nigerian student. I think he's a medical student in St. Lucia. So, but I don't think the reverse is going to happen.
It's not. We must fix things. You see, you don't need to invite people. They will come naturally.
Yeah.
All our students, how many people are inviting them to come to UK, to come to Canada? Those environments are there conducive for them to learn, and they can definitely project to some of those things.
Be fixed.
I think at St. Lucia will be used to eating concoction rice.
When he said power, I was almost going to say, somebody say power. But let's start with the Daily Independent and see the big story. Atiku Mark Secondus, PDP bigwigs ask members, Nigerians, to join coalition. They say APC government is now a disaster, must be voted out. Indices of development have collapsed. Life now held in Nigeria. Coalition not threat to APC, says Dalori, ruling party's acting chair. Infrastructure is most persuasive advertisement of leadership, says Tinubu. AKK gas pipeline, NNPC announces successful crossing of River Niger. French government doles out 38 million euros for ICT infrastructure in 10 Nigerian varsities. Wow, that's an interesting one. Tinubu names former Nasarawa Governor Al-Makura board chairman of UBEC. Dangote's initiative will stimulate economic growth, energy experts say. INEC set to release new guidelines on reviewing declared results. And finally, subsidy cut. Buhari didn't undermine Tinubu's government, Garba Shehu says. Let's talk about the coalition. Your thoughts on the coalition?
Well, APC had it years back, and I think PDP are trying their own way to see if they can come together. But there are fundamentals that is worrisome to me, if you ask me. The person PDP can call the major driver to lead that particular thing, does he have that grasp to actually carry everybody along the way the current president, Bola Tinubu, was able to do for APC and galvanize? It was ACN there that was given the leading role for CPC and I think Abga, and I know there were three coalitions that came together. But you can see President Bola Tinubu then as the major leader that everybody see, and you were able to integrate into their vision and say, let's come together and move. I'm not saying that leadership role in PDP and gives me so much worry.
Maybe
people
not
would
yet.
have been me. Not yet.
But they're supposed to meet today. I guess we'll get more information.
Somebody must be able to give that direction where you see in every association like that, there must be one or two individuals you can see at Arrowhead that will be able to give that leading role.
There's an article there. There's Mark. I mean, won't you think it's either one of them?
Except if Wike will not be part of the meeting and Sheyu will not be there. These are people that will definitely come in with their own strong wit and say, where was the vice president, former vice president, why things were not shaking? And you know, the way the coalition is even going, you want to actually discontinue with PDP. I think it should be maybe Maja to come and say, let every one of us galvanize and see how we can strengthen
and I
PDP.
guess that's why they're using the ADC as a vehicle.
ADC is completely far from it. Did you see P in that thing, in that name? Did you see D? Did you see P? So, but when you look at APC, you see ACN with CPC and I think ABGA, and you are able to. But I think the fundamental thing is having one or two key persons that everybody can actually say, this is our leader and we are believing in what they're saying. So, but it's a good thing for them to do. You know, every now and then we come to this station, we said they've not been able to fulfill that role we expected them to play as opposition party for the current administration. In all they seems to have a lot of challenges, you know, amidst them that is not allowing them to give that position of criticizing, you know, the government objectively. But let's see what the meeting will come out with today, and I think that will give a direction of where to go.
Well, that's a good one.
Let's see how that will turn out. But let's talk about INEC. INEC set to release new guidelines on reviewing declared results. So there are a number of things that they're looking at. The review of, excuse me, Section 65 of the Electoral Act, which in some measure, I mean, gives a lot of power to INEC as well as the REC. So there's certain guidelines that will be announced. Earlier today, we had Chief Peter Ame, who was speaking about how the focus should not be on reviewing Section 65, but the focus should be on ensuring that we have a real-time transmission of results and focus on being that the president should not be the one to empower the INEC officials, because it's just like saying a referee is playing in his own game. You know, so those were some of his feedback. But I don't know if you think that there should be some guidelines.
Yeah, you see, most of the time we have new intro into some of the things we're doing without actually, let me say, maximizing what we have in existence. What are the things that we feel we need to do? If you are reviewing this particular thing, one of the things that would have given us, maybe the younger generation, the hope that things are actually changing is the online transmission, which a lot of us saw the challenges. And then a lot of people were actually after me to say no. But I said, when you don't have the infrastructure to write on, how do you expect online real-time transmission of some of these results? Yeah. The power is not there. I'm sure as close as we are, if we start trying to send messages via the internet platform, it can be very funny at times. And that is the same platform you actually need to do. We must start the first thing first before we start considering the issue of whether we want to review the process at which we are getting the result. Technology is the intake thing for everybody to do. Once the infrastructure is there, you upload the result without thinking. Do you know at times you can be working on a certain things to upload a file, and it will be rolling for minutes. And in that process, anything can happen. You can even send it and it will not deliver. Have you seen the process of trying to transfer funds to someone? You are debited and the other party is not getting those things there. It still lies on the infrastructure at which you are actually working on. So I feel that the first thing we need to do is to improve on our infrastructure, adopt the electronic way of transmitting that result. That on its own, we give that confidence. I can give you a leeway. Majority of the professional bodies adopted it. I think the last election by professional body, The cutoff time was 12 noon, and we saw the process. At that point in time, AGM was going on. They stopped it. Everybody concentrated on the result. They logged in into that particular portal, logged in, and we saw the result transmitted within 5 minutes. And everybody saw the result. Okay, this is the number for this candidate. This is the number for this candidate. And you need to come and see the confidence. And we said technology working in that particular. How can we adopt this same process? I know there can be issues because we have not even spread the infrastructure. What do you talk about the rural area where internet is not working, where power is not working, where people are using the last election, people were actually using torchlight to come and write result and get some of those things out. How do you manage some of those things? I think first thing first, how do we keep saying it, improve on our infrastructure? A lot of things are actually beckoning on it. I saw one of your headlines in that Daily Independent talking about maybe those 10 varsities are what Mr. President is actually
the French, you know, gifting them ICT
infrastructure, so that. But I asked, when you give some of those ICT infrastructure, what are they going to write on? Because every ICT infrastructure requires 24/7 power supply. Without that, you can't function. Because I can stay at the comfort of my home and work, you know, plug into some of the activities I need to do in school. If the system in the school is not up and running, how do I, as a student, or do you want to restrict it and say the reading time should be this, when people like us like reading at night and the system is down because there is no power supply? We must get some of those infrastructure fixed if we must definitely move and grow as a nation.
All right. Let's look at Daily Trust, Daily Trust newspaper, the front page of Daily Trust. Ahead ADC's meeting today, Atiku woos PDP leaders for coalition. I think that's more reason why our guest couldn't join us today, as well known. This ADC meeting is coming on the back heel of one that was held yesterday. Yesterday, we're told that key leaders in the People's Democratic Party, including former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, former Jigawa State Governor Sule Lamido, ex-Senate President David Mark, who has been made the chairman of the ADC now. Also, other party bigwigs are reportedly on their way out of the PDP. So the PDP is going to not just lose members, but also lose key members. The reason why they're moving, well, the reason is because of a meeting that's billed to hold today, which is the ADC meeting where Atiku has called on former, or say PDP members to leave the PDP and come in for a coalition. I know you've spoken on it already, but would like to get your thoughts on the angle, a different angle this time. And the angle I'd like to get your thoughts in is the angle of having a huge number of PDP members getting ready to resign and move to the ADC. Why do you think the SDP did not work, but now they had to change course and go to the ADC?
Maybe on a lighter mode, Joe. If you ask me now, I'll ask. The question is not about changing nomenclature. It's about the personality and individual behind this. We've seen this happen, and we've said, because majority of our politicians lack ideology. It's about what is in it for me, and not even for the people they are going to lead. So you could not agree with SDP. The same set of people are coming to ADC after collapsing PDP. Don't forget, I always make reference that ACN was strong, CPC was strong, ABGA was strong individually before they come in with that coalition. They did not actually collapse any of their structure. They came in with their strength and area of negotiation. But what we are saying is collapsing one and win them to other side. And I asked, what different would that mean? It's just change of nomenclature that we're seeing. So the problem that you are living in the former party where you are exiting is the same problem you are going to face where you're going. If you are coming, because now you are wooing them, that means the baggage you claim you are living in that party, you are bringing them into ADC. I think it's something that we need to have a thought through. If you ask me, it's a free world. They are supposed to have that, but I feel that I see this as more of change of nomenclature, change of name, because the same set of... So if you are going to ADC, why can't you work to correct some of those anomalies in PDP? Because don't forget that before this administration, before Buhari took over, PDP gave us that word that they were going to lead this country for, I think, for like, is it 30 or 40 years before APC came on board? And not 60. Too long, 60 years. Yeah. 60 years. Not too long, the same party is actually going into 10 years, and we are looking for ADC. I feel we should have a deeper thought of that party. If ADC wants to move, leave the baggage. Because I'm sure there were crises. That was why you're actually metamorphosing into another party, and you don't need to now carry those baggage along, which might later become a problem. And before you know it, ADC will become another party that will say, we cannot even do anything that is obtainable. Because, you know, David Mark and the likes, they play a strategic role in PDP. If that can collapse under their face, what is the fate of the new party that we are going?
Okay. Now let's take a look at the Guardian newspaper. Quite a number of stories on the front page here. But the Guardian terms it as Northern PDP leaders, I guess because a few personalities in the PDP missing from that coalition. Northern PDP leaders settle on ADC as preferred coalition platform. Obi Flay St. Lucia's highest honor Knight Commander title on Tinubu. So I hope the St. Lucians will be getting that feedback. Mr. Peter Obi is not really happy with that. Rep's ticket may cost 500 million naira, post-election litigation 1 billion naira. So year on year, electoral cycle after electoral cycle, the prices of nomination forms spiraling beyond the control of ordinary Nigerians. So I guess maybe politics is only open to wealthy people, but that's a discussion I would like us to talk about. On those government quests to probe Akeredolu's death sparks controversy. I mean, this man died a few years ago, and there wasn't any suspicion of foul play. So I wonder, after destroying the memorial in the Orwell, now they're looking at, you know, probing his death. Rivers Lagos was hit as cold clashes claims 1,686 lives in 5 years. And the operators demand increase to stave off 6 trillion naira gas debt. Tariff increase, please don't mind them. They should find other ways of doing that instead of increasing the tariff. Let's talk about this cultism. It's an issue that people really don't talk about, and these days they're recruiting younger people. Rivers Lagos was hit as cold clashes claims 1,686 lives in 5 years. What do you think is the driving force behind recruitment? Why should anybody want to join a cult?
Yeah, first and foremost, I will take it to what I refer to loss of our values. A lot of us, while we're growing up, there are basic things that you learn and you call your core value, which you want to protect as you go on. But we've diverted completely or deviated completely from this, and it's becoming so worrisome. These days, part of the challenges we are faced with is we celebrate money more than any other thing. And a lot of people have gone into what they are not supposed to do, all in the aspect of getting that money. And
I mean, somebody even slept in the ceiling of the bank.
Because, you know, because he wants to have
when he's not Spider-Man.
It might be our own local Spider-Man to actually gain those access. It's all about, and I always tell individuals, you won't blame it because there are economic hardship, and the last resort for you is to go into ritualism or go. You see, those things started fundamentally from those areas. 1. 2, parental lack of parental guidance. These days, parents seems to turn off their eyes on what their children are doing, and they will hide it under the level of economic hardship. Mom and dad needs to go out 24/7. You don't even know what your children are doing while you are off the house. Those days, our parents grew up to actually ask questions of activities that you have carried out. They monitor some of the things that you're doing, and that puts you on check. I feel that's a gap that we have created. Not that alone. You now see an atmosphere where parents celebrate some of these cultism. Not too long, you heard about some mothers coming out to say they are happy to identify their children, you know, being part of the internet fraudster. I remembered that video came out, and people now say, why do you have to stay at home? This person has gone to do this. What exactly have you done? When you go Yahoo, right, it is not just, you know, siphoning money. A lot of them are occultic. If you see underground.
That one is Yahoo Plus with Calabash.
But you know, you will start with Yahoo and its graduation. It's just starting from one class. When you get to primary 3, there are certain technicalities they will introduce you to. And when you see parents on their own because they want for materialism, you know, not overburden them, ask their children to go that route. So when he becomes a cult member, I'm sure you've heard stories of children using their parents as for rituals, you know. And so I feel we have parental gap where parents lack that coordination on what their children are doing. Those that are even available feel that materiality is the way to go. And if you are not there, you are not there. So we should start correcting those values in which we have in our environment. While we are growing up, I don't know, there are some rhymes we listen to. There are some poems you read that makes you feel as if, I have to be a better person for the future. Not these days, where you look at, even in the church, even in religious houses, where people you cannot even know the foundation of their wealth are taking position, and people are looking at them, and when you ask them, you say, okay, just see me in confidence to tell you what they're doing. When they open up on certain things that they are doing, you ask yourself the route to go. So I think it's about our value system, which I would say is completely collapsed, where parents does not supervise the activities of what their children are doing, and some are even promoting their children because of materialism.
I say back in the day, if you come back with certain kind of gifts, you are in trouble if you cannot explain to your parents where you got it.
Yeah.
I remember seeing a video on social media recently, a mother who was living obviously in an underserved community. You could tell that these people are just trying to make ends meet. Her son came back with a Benz and they were celebrating him. And you could, from there, I mean, you could tell it was a very young boy, someone that should probably be in secondary school. And the question is, how can this kind of a young boy afford Benz when his mom is not able to make ends meet? This is not a matter of profiling. If 2 and 2 is not, you know, equal to 4, then there's a problem somewhere. So yes, it's very important that parents also know that they also have a role to play in upholding our values.
Maybe they increase his salary at work.
Which work?
Which work?
Which work in the
somebody that they are still feeding.
Someone that is supposed to be in secondary school. Not as bad as SS3. I want us to talk about a story on The Guardian where, was it The Guardian I saw it? Where they were asking for a coroner's inquest into the death. Okay, yes, on those government quests to probe Akeredolu's health sparks controversy. Now, former Governor Akeredolu, you know, late Governor Akeredolu died according to the report, he died in Germany on the 27th of December 2023 after a protracted illness. After his death, Aiyedatiwa, of course, was the acting governor and was sworn in as the substantive governor. However, on Monday, the government has said that they've received many petitions from residents of Owo, and that these residents are asking that, and some professional groups as well, asking that they probe the death of the former governor. And it's a bit confusing because we thought that, you know, this matter had, without trying to be dark, died a natural death. But now it's now looking like, is there more to it? Why is this a conversation now?
Yeah, it's worrisome to me too, because if you asked me, I think at a point in time, we all understand the fact that the man had a few challenges health-wise, and that was why he was flew out. Whatever investigation they need to carry out, I consider that to be more of a distraction, if you ask me. The man has gone to sleep. And if there are, if there are people who masterminded in this, there are nemesis that catch up with people without you even, investigating anything. But I feel that they will be opening up certain things that might be affecting the family. It's gone, possibly maybe we'll be talking about just remembering the man of some of the legacy work he has done while he was governor. I will always give credit to the man for his doggedness. He is the man that brought this Amotekun in terms of security to the Southwest. He stood his ground to the government. There are great legacy the man has actually done that we can celebrate as against just trying to open I don't know the rationale behind it.
So that's actually what's confusing me, right? If you go on social media, of course, people have been reacting to this. There are those who think that this might be done to get at his late widow. Maybe there's a suspicion of foul play. These are just speculations. They're not in any way confirmed. So we don't know what the spirit behind this is. And I do think if there was any reason for foul play, if there was anything that could have indicated foul play, it's important that it's investigated so that, whoever needs to face the law faces the law. But if this isn't a situation where there was genuine cause to believe there was foul play,
because at times
can't we resurrecting this? People
at times people raise what should not.
I don't know. Some people think, I've seen some reactions to people who say that they think Governor Lucky Aiyedatiwa is putting a nail to his political career if he goes ahead to investigate this.
Well, I can't say anything so much about that. But the truth is, if anybody asks me this question, let's celebrate the legacy of the man. He's gone to rest, and the good works he has done should be part of the things we should, not opening up if that has happened, I think few months, you're talking of December 2023, that's running to 2 years now. We should just allow the man to rest in peace and let the development of the state continue. I will always tell every individual that care to listen, if you do something funny behind the scene, if nobody is seeing you, your creator is seeing you, when he will deal with you, I won't be there as an individual. And when you are facing the consequence, it will only be you and that person that has done. But I think what we need more is what can give good development to the people of the state as different from this investigation that can distract a lot of things to be.
Just before we wrap up on the papers, let's talk about this. On the front page of The Guardian, Rep Siket may cost 500 million, post-election litigation 1 billion. This monetization of forms, I guess that's why so many parties were rushing to INEC to get registered, because it's almost a revenue generating thing for them to sell those forms and make some
cool
money. Do you think we should put a cap on how much forms to seek elective offices should cost, or we should it should be the prerogative of the parties? Because what we're seeing here is a monetization, and when they get into power, of course, they try to recoup the monies that was spent on campaigns and buying these forms. Because how much is a piece of paper at the end of the day? I know it's beyond that paper. They use the money to organize secretariat work and all of that. But 500 million for tickets is ridiculous for reps, and then let alone presidency, governorship, and what have you.
Benga, we spoke about value system. I will take that into our political space. At least I'm of little age to know how this transpired during our fathers, where it was a collective agreement to say, let's put resources together as a political party and sponsor Benga. Would have been contributing our widows' marriage. People get their 5 naira, not individual coming. These days, what we're saying is individual comes with that open sum of money, controls the party, dictates what it feels it should be, even if it is against the principle of other people that are there and they want to find their exit way out. I don't think that is the route we need to go with our system. But if you ask me, it is the current operation of most political parties, and a lot of people, like you said, now look for a way to register. So the intention is that we cannot even go anywhere. Benga, we know you have money. Come and vote for governor. So when you give us 500 million, a lot of us will go behind the scene, we share, you will go. Because I keep asking myself, by the time you pay 500 million for nomination form, what about the campaign cost? What we are going to explain. So what will be the actual cost of actually venturing into this? And we keep asking the question, when you get into power, you want to have the people at heart. You've already collected the money. And the disheartening thing is that it is not the people that the political party will use the money for. They will use it for themselves, who are part of the who are in the political party, internally settling what should be, should not be. But it's worrisome for me if we keep, increasing the loss. That means we might find it difficult to get credible candidates that have the interest of the people at heart. It will be more of people that will dose in their money. And don't be surprised that in no distance time, the set of people that we've just discussed about, the internet fraudsters, we have their background, get the money, they come into a clean guy, go into politics, and start luring other people to be part of it.
It started happening.
There's a story I wanted us to take, but I don't know that we have enough time.
No, we don't
have time.
But let's have Sheson stay with us as we go back to looking at which way Nigeria, which comes up right now.
The Federal House of Representatives has queried the Rivers State government over 24 billion naira budgeted for CCTV installations at the government house, calling it excessive and opaque. Lawmakers have given the state sole administrator, retired Vice Admiral Ibok Ete Ibas, 48 hours to provide a detailed breakdown. They say government house is the heart of the state, but in Rivers State, it has become a vault of vanities, a monument to greed, and now the most expensive surveillance site in the entire West African sub-region. 24 billion naira for CCTV inside one government house. What kind of CCTV is this? And while they watch, what do they see? Do these cameras capture the mothers in Diobu trekking hours to find clean water? Do they zoom in on the unpaid teachers who teach under leaking roofs? Do they record the sickness in the general hospital with no bed sheets and no light, no drugs? No. They watch the gate. They watch each other. It's power watching power. And no one is watching the people. They tell us it's security. But what is more insecure than a leader who needs 24 billion naira worth of cameras to feel safe in his own house? When leadership fears its own shadow, it means conscience is haunting the corridors. Where's the breakdown? Where's the contract? Which company is collecting this gold mine? Which greedy hands are signing the checks? And where are the Rivers people? Are we so used to insults that we now clap for our own humiliation? Because this isn't just a Rivers problem. This is the Nigerian playbook. Spend public money to build private empires, label theft as infrastructure, hide behind bulletproof budgets, and call it leadership. But hear this, a government house surrounded by 1,000 cameras still cannot hide the truth, and no CCTV can erase the hunger, the decay, the rot outside its polished gates. Are we building nations or just fortresses? Are we electing leaders or installing kings behind walls and lenses? If government house becomes a prison of privilege while the rest of us roam free in poverty, then truly we're a country upside down. Good morning, Nigerians.
Thank you for joining us. We'll be signing out to our audience, our viewers, our guests, analysts, those who joined us virtually as well as physically. Thank you, Sheson, for being with us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
The conversations continue tomorrow. See you again. I am Olive Emodi.
And I'm Joe Hansen. Without a CCTV camera, I can still see what's in front of me.
Yeah. And I'm Benga Boro. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.